Good evening. I'd like to call to order the May 21st, 2026 meeting of the City of Nashua Planning Board. First item on the agenda, can we please get a roll call?
Mayor Tonjes, Joseph McIntyre,
Present.
Bob Bollinger,
Here.
Adam Varley,
Here.
Maggie Harper, Alderman Patricia Klee,
Here.
Dan Hudson,
Here.
Benjamin Zoller,
Here.
Larry Hirsch,
Here.
Cameron Green, here.
All right, we have a quorum. Thank you, Mr. Green. Next item on the agenda, approval of minutes. Has any member of the board had an opportunity to review the minutes of May 7th and is willing to make a motion regarding their acceptance? Mr. Zoller, please.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to motion that those minutes are complete as written.
All right, thank you. Motion by Mr. Zoller. Is there a second? Second by Alderman Klee. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any abstentions? One abstention. Mr. Varley, motion passes. Next item on the agenda, communications. Staff, there's been a few things flying around today. Would you please give us the latest update as of 7:02, please?
Yes, Chair. Yep, a few changes to the agenda packet, just updated waiver letters, plan set, and staff report for the Flatley project. And for the Bishop Girton project at Lund Road, updated public correspondence, new public correspondence, applicant response letter to prior engineering comments, and an updated condition in the staff report.
All right, thank you. Next item on the agenda, report of chair, committee, and liaison. Nothing for me this evening. Larry? Okay, thank you. All right. Before we start with our regular cases, I do just want to state for the record, the case for 11 Tara Boulevard that is not being heard tonight. If anyone is here for that case, at the applicant's request, that project will be heard on June 4th, 2026. So I will get into the planning board procedure. The procedure of the meeting and hearing are as follows. After the legal notice of each conditional use, special use permit, site plan, or subdivision plan is read by the chair, the board will determine if the application is complete and ready for the board to take jurisdiction. The public hearing will begin, at which time the applicant or representative will be given time to present an overview and description of their project. They shall speak to whether or not they agree with the stipulations recommended by staff. The board will have an opportunity to ask relevant follow-up questions of the applicant or staff. The chair will then ask for testimony from the audience, and the chair shall have the ability to limit the length of public testimony in the interest of time. First, anyone wishing to speak in opposition or with concern to the plan may speak. Please come forward to the microphone and state your name and address for the record. This will be the time to express your concerns or ask questions you may have regarding the plan. Next, testimony will come from anyone wishing to speak in favor of the plan. The board may then ask relevant follow-up questions of the applicant. The applicant will then be given a rebuttal period, at which time they shall respond to any concerns raised by prior public testimony. After this is completed, the public hearing will end and the board will begin the public meeting, at which time the board will deliberate and vote on the application before us. We ask that both sides keep their remarks to the subject at hand and try not to repeat what has already been stated. We want to be fair to everyone and make the best possible decision based on the testimony provided and considering all applicable approval criteria set forth in the Nashua revised ordinances. Thank you for your interest and courteous attention, and I would ask that you turn off or silence your cell phones, please, at this time. Lastly, I would like to state that at the discretion of the chair, the board may take cases out of order. All right, moving along. First item on the agenda tonight we will take up is under new business subdivision plan, case A26-0062, property located at 60 Lake Street. Has any member of the board had an opportunity to review this application, make a recommendation regarding completeness, and that the board is ready to take jurisdiction? Mr. Varley, please.
Mr. Chair, I would like to make a motion that new business A26-0062 is complete and ready for the board to accept jurisdiction.
All right, thank you. Motion by Mr. Varley. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Hirsch. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Board has jurisdiction. Mr. Brandon, the floor is yours. Go right ahead.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. For the record, my name is Chad Brannon, civil engineering principal owner with Fieldstone Lincoln Homes. Our office is located at 206 Elm Street in Milford, New Hampshire, and I will be representing Axis Realty Group LLC this evening, who is the applicant, and Marsh Road LLC, who is the landowner. We're before you this evening simply looking to do a condominium conversion on a 5-unit multifamily building located at 60 Lake Street on tax map parcel 101-61. The subject property consists of .045 acres of land. It's my understanding this property was converted from, or redeveloped rather, from a single-family residence to this 5-unit multifamily back in 2005. And my client would simply like to convert it into a condominium development. So there are no proposed modifications to the property. The property is 100% developed, and as stated in the staff memo, there are no known existing nonconformities or issues with this parcel. We have had the opportunity to review the staff report for this evening's meeting, and we have no objections to any of the staff's recommendations within that report. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I'd be happy to answer any questions that the board may have relative to this application at this time.
Okay, thank you. Even though it's a fairly common one, for the record, would you like to address the waiver request?
Absolutely. This application does request a waiver under section 190-282B9, which is to waive the requirement to show all existing features within 1,000 feet of the subdivision boundaries as applicable. We did an existing conditions survey on the property, and we believe we are showing all applicable details within locus of the project, and so we're asking the board to consider that waiver this evening.
Thank you. No questions from me at this time. I'll open it up to the board. Any questions of the applicant? Seeing none at this time, Chad, we'll open it up to the public. Any members of the public that we wish to speak in opposition or with concern to this application? For the 60 Lake Street project? This is for the 60 Lake Street project. Yes, sir, please. Yep, we got you. Thanks. You'll have an opportunity when your case is called. So anyone in opposition or with concern to 60 Lake Street? No? Okay. Anyone wishes to speak in favor of this application? No. All right, one last chance for the board. All right, seeing none.
Just a question for
Mr. Rowley.
staff.
Yes, please.
Just technical on the subsequent conditions. I know, I think typically if this were a condo development in the first instance, that we would require submission of the condo documents as a condition. I'm just asking if staff doesn't think that's necessary, that's fine. I just wanted to confirm.
Condo docs actually have been submitted with the application. Yep.
All right, great, thank you. Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Varley. Any other questions of staff? All right, this time we'll close the public hearing. This one seems fairly straightforward, no plan mods. The waiver, though, is still applicable, so we would need to vote on that separately. I personally don't see any issues with moving this forward. I would be in favor of both the waiver and the subdivision approval. And if there's other thoughts from board members on that? Mr. Green?
One thing in the letter from engineering and Joe Mandola, I think there was a modification to the plan they requested to match the 2026 plan. Was that part of the, maybe I missed it, of the technical comment review?
Yeah, actually, I don't know if staff can answer that. I don't mind reopening the hearing if the applicant wants to address it. Just we're closed right now, so I don't know.
Or if Dan, you're comfortable?
Yeah, I
with
can.
where we're at?
Oh, go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, thank you, Dan Hudson, city engineer. I'm comfortable where we're at. This was, we would like the plan to reflect the current condition as we understand it. They're going to video the service, or be required to, basically. So it'd be nice if that happened, but if it's not possible, we'll at least amend our sewer permit records to reflect the current condition. So I'd like to leave that in the comment letter, and then we'll discuss with the applicant satisfying that condition post-approval.
Okay, and that would be covered by subsequent condition B?
Correct, yes.
Okay, understood. No, Cam, thanks for the question, and Dan, thank you for the clarification on that. So, okay. Any other discussion on this one? And if not, I guess the board was so inclined, procedurally, we'd be looking for a vote first on granting the waiver before we move to the subdivision approval. Any member of the board willing to make such a motion? Mr. Green, please.
Yeah, I would like to make a motion for new business 826-0062 subdivision approval to grant the following waiver, 19282B9, to waive the requirement to show all existing features within 1,000 feet of the subdivision properties, utilizing the criteria in RSA 674-36-2N and RSA 674-44-3E, and 190-148D, finding that strict conformity would pose unnecessary hardship to the applicant and would not be contrary to the spirit and intent of the regulations and the specific circumstances properly carry out that spirit and intent. Considering the rationale provided by the applicant in the attached waiver request letter dated April 9th, 2026.
All right. Thank you. Motion by Mr. Green. Is there a second? Second by Alderman Clee. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Motion passes. Mr. Green, would you like to continue, please?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to grant final subdivision approval for the residential conversion of the existing multifamily property into a 5-unit condominium subdivision at 60 Lake Street, finding that the application meets outlined in 190-146D, subject to the following conditions in the staff report A through C.
Thank you. Motion by Mr. Green. Is there a second?
Mr. Chair, if I may, I just would like to add a condition D. Given that this is a condo plan, it's effectively a subdivision, we're creating new interest in land, this plan has to be recorded at the registry. So I will just read this into the record, and if Mr. Green would like to modify his motion as I say it, that would be great. Prior to the recording of the plan at the Registry of Deeds, the applicant shall submit recording fees as required by the Hillsborough County Registry of Deeds for the plat to be recorded.
That sounds reasonable, Sam, but I want to speak for Mr. Green. It's his motion, so.
Yes. I'd like to make an amendment to add subsequent condition D in using the language proposed by Sam Durfee as that statement D.
I'll take that. So we have a motion by Mr. Green. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Varley. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you. Thank you very much. All right. Moving along in the agenda, under new business, conditional use applications, case 826-0026, property located at L. Shakespeare Road. And if the board saw fit, we can also take that in conjunction with new business site plan, case 826-0010, for property at the same address, L. Shakespeare Road. Has any member of the board an opportunity to review that application, who's willing to make a motion regarding its completeness and whether the board should accept jurisdiction over the cases? Mr. Varley, please.
Yes, Mr. Chair. I would make a motion as to both case A26-0026 and A26-0010, that those applications are complete and ready for the board to accept jurisdiction.
All right, thank you. Motion by Mr. Varley. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Green. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Board has jurisdiction. Mr. Brannon, you're up again. Go for it.
Good evening again, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. For the record, my name is Chad Brannon, civil engineer and principal owner with Fieldstone Land Consultants. Our office is located at 206 Elm Street in Milford, New Hampshire. With me tonight is Kevin Walker with the John Flatley Company, and together we'll be representing the conditional use permit and site plan application for the Gateway Hills Northern Tech Center project. We are before you this evening to discuss the construction of a 48,000 square foot flex building within Gateway Hills. This project may look familiar to the board, as a similar project was presented and previously approved on this site in January of 2024, but it failed to acquire the building permit within a 12-month period, so that prior approval is void. So we are before you this evening with the very similar project that just contemplates some additional modifications to allow future development on the property. The site is part of the larger Gateway Hills development, formerly known as Nashua Technology Park. Currently, Gateway Hills encompasses approximately 400 acres of land and is a mixed-use development with office, research and development, retail, a hotel, and residential uses throughout. Gateway Hills is serviced by one public road, which is Tara Boulevard, and 3 private roads consisting of Innovative Way, Research Drive, and Digital Drive. The project area is situated over 5 properties. Those properties are tax map parcel A-45, A-47, A-48, A-92, and A-986. The 5 properties will be merged into one parcel as part of this project. The combined parcel will be A-45 and will consist of about 110.5 acres of land. As I stated before, this development proposes a 48,000 square foot flex building with associated site improvements. The development is situated to the north of Tara Heights and north of Site C, which was another 48,000 square foot flex building that was previously approved within Gateway Hills. The subject property is bordered by residential properties along Shakespeare and Lily Roads to the west, vacant residential land to the north, the FE Everett Turnpike to the east, and Tara Heights and Site C to the south. The proposed building for this project will be single story and will consist of up to 10 4,800 square foot units. Each unit will have a small office space with a restroom on the front side and a larger warehouse space with a bay door to the rear. The design of the site provides for parking at the front of the building where the office spaces will be located and loading areas in activity for loading and offloading to the rear of the building. Along the front of the building, the design of the site provides for 83 parking spaces with 42 spaces proposed to be constructed as part of the project, with 41 spaces designated for future if needed. The site design also provides for 4 ADA accessible parking spaces, and these parking standards do meet the city standards as outlined within the plans. To the rear of the site, the layout provides for 30 truck parking and loading spaces adjacent to the building, with 16 additional parking spaces located along the west side of the site. As you can see, the site design provides for access around all sides of the building and also provides for good turning movements for larger design vehicles for deliveries and such. Access to the buildings will be provided by an extension of Innovative Way, which is a private road. This project proposes to extend Innovative Way approximately 1,210 feet and will also include the construction of a 2,700-foot loop road, which will service the proposed buildings and future building sites within the development area. The development will be serviced by municipal sewer, natural gas, Pennachuck water, and underground utilities such as electric, phone, and cable. Other site improvements include internal access aisles, walkways, landscaping, lighting, drainage, and utility infrastructure, all of which is detailed within the plan set submitted. The parking areas and internal traffic patterns, again, have been designed to provide for adequate turning movements for daily use, truck traffic, as well as emergency response vehicles. Within the plan set, you will see that we've provided a lighting plan. The lighting for the site will consist of a blend of building-mounted lights and pole-mounted lights. All the lighting has been designed to be compliant with the city standards. The drainage design for this project will consist of collecting and conveying all stormwater runoff from the improvements to 3 stormwater management areas located within the project area. And I'm happy to go into more details on the stormwater design. This project will require an alteration of terrain permit, so that the stormwater management design and all the management areas have been designed to mitigate for the quantitative and qualitative stormwater components. Those designs consist of design storms for the 2, 10, 25, 50, and 100-year storm events. This project will also require a sewer discharge permit through the New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services, and all of the applicable details for that is also incorporated within the plan set. We have had an opportunity to work through department reviews, as well as reviewing the staff report for this evening's meeting, and we do not have any issues with any of the staff recommendations outlined within the staff letter, nor do we have any issues with any of the department reviews that are referenced within the staff memo. We are requesting 2 waivers with this application. One waiver is from section 190-279EE, which requires that all features be shown on all adjacent parcels as appropriate within 1,000 feet of the property. As you can see within the plan set, we are detailing a significant amount of area around the project area. The project provides for significant buffering to adjacent properties. Another waiver that we're requesting is from section 190-279B regarding the drafting standards and the plans not being smaller than 50 feet to 1 inch. Simply because this property is so large in size, we do have many overall plans. The plan that's before you now is the overall site plan, which has to be at 200 scale in order to depict the entire site. So we are requesting a waiver from that standard. We do have plans within the set at 50 scale that detail, the appropriate areas and details accordingly. Another item that we'd like the board to consider this evening is, as I stated in the beginning of the presentation, we've already secured an approval on this project in the past, and that it lapsed due to a 12-month time frame. This is a large project. We will be seeking a number of state permits, and as such, we would like the board to consider a 3-year approval for this project for active and substantial completion. With that said, Mr. Chairman, I'd be happy to answer any questions that the board may have at this time, or address any, details, or go into additional details as necessary.
Okay, thank you. Actually, questions for staff. Was there already, I apologize if I'm missing it, was there already an impact fee assessed or a corridor contribution fee when this was originally approved? And
Correct. Yeah.
have those funds been collected, or?
Yes.
They have, okay. And I would imagine the applicant is still amenable to having those funds held if they're being held, or expended if they've already been expended?
That's correct, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. With respect to 3-year approval criteria, does staff have any opinions on that?
Is there a new state law that gives you the ability to approve past that date?
The authority to extend the 12-month window in which to obtain a building permit is within our own ordinance. So the board does have the authority to extend that to whenever they see fit. And I think as Mr. Brandon described, the unique needs and the build-out schedule of this project, it is reasonable to assume that they would not feasibly be able to obtain a building permit with all the site preparation work that's needed to occur before the building site itself is ready to pull a building permit. So we would be supportive of that 3-year window.
Thank you.
And I can provide language when we get to the point, as we would bake that into the site plan approval motion.
Okay, understood. Thank you, Sam. That's all I have for the moment. I would like to open it up to the board, though, for other questions. Alderman Clee, please.
Thank you. I apologize for this question. I'm looking at the plans that were submitted and so on, and you talked about the road that, and because we don't have the TVs, I can't ask you, was there, in the plan, is there one that actually shows the road that goes all the way around and how close it is to the properties, such as on Shakespeare and so on? I don't know if I'm just missing it. I see the road, but I don't see how close it is to the properties. In other words, I see on the plan, so.
That is detailed within the plan set. If you don't mind, Mr. Chairman, I do have a couple hard copies that I'd be happy to put up on the board behind you if members would like to see the plan.
We may not need it. One second.
And I can tell you, just to speak to distance to Shakespeare, the limit of disturbance for this project, the closest limit of disturbance from the grading for the project area to the Shakespeare homes is like 505 feet. So we have a substantial buffer between our project disturbance and Shakespeare residences.
Okay, may I just
Yes,
quickly
Alderman
follow up?
Clee, yes.
There was a letter that had come through about trees that had been accidentally removed and so on in the last iteration of some of the work that was being done. Have any of those trees been put back? Because I remember the discussion about keeping a buffer from the members. I think it was up in the corner there where Macefield was. Do I have that correct? That was the letter that had come in?
Yes.
There hasn't been any tree cutting associated with this project on site. There is a 300-foot natural buffer, a zoning buffer, that it will exist,
Okay.
and then our project limits don't come within 500 feet at the closest point to Shakespeare. So our proposed limited clearing is 505 feet from the closest Shakespeare residence. So there will be substantial mature forest and vegetation that will exist.
And may I just, and up in the corner where Macefield is as well?
It's
There'll be-
even further in the corner in
Okay.
Macefield. You can see on some of the plans, and maybe you don't have them in front of you, but it's, to the homes, we show the 300-foot buffer line from that
Right.
corner.
Yep.
And you can see the future solar array, location. It's about 500 feet to the corner of the property.
Okay.
And then it's additional distance to, the residences.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that.
Other questions from the board? Mr. McIntyre, please.
Yes, thank you. Bear with me, Mr. Chairman, this is my first meeting, so if I make some rookie mistakes.
Wide degree of latitude is granted.
Okay,
Go for it.
Just for tonight, and team. Okay. So I want to put this in context of the larger potential project coming down the line of 1 million square feet, right? So what is the connective for this to that, if there is any, or is there none at all?
Well, we would have to come back before this board and, go through department reviews for every building that is proposed to be constructed on this site. So basically, what this project does is it contemplates future development. City staff has been asking my client for a long time to contemplate really a master plan approach for this property. That's what this plan does, right? So we've essentially looked at this large piece of property and said, okay, how do we envision this getting developed over time? My client's invested a lot of money into engineering designs for contemplating future development. But we're looking tonight for the approval for one building. We'd be back before this board to get to that 1 million square feet a number of times.
Mr. McIntyre.
Thank you. Just I want to drill down a little bit. Okay, so clearly I understand that this is a separate and unique thing, and it's tonight, okay? But my concern or question really, I'll try to fine tune it, is this is called a flex and warehouse building. Is it a standalone, on its own project that if the other project, which will be massive, if that is not needed, would this project still be required?
Yeah, I mean, so my client's been developing Gateway Hills over many years. They've built flex buildings out there currently, and so, they have a marketing division that, basically markets the property, and they've determined a need for this project to be done in order to appropriately market the, future developments. So this project, I don't know if I'm answering your question, but this project is the first step of, first phase of that larger build-out.
Okay, so the last part of it is, what I was trying to get to was the functionality of the facility, if it was a standalone on its own merits versus it's something that will support a future possible development. And if that's the case, I just want to know, because it will be, I don't want to say it's implied, but it's, if we're making this first mini step, so to speak, are we preparing ourselves to say, hey, you've done the mini step, now we're ready for the next one? Because I want to know if they connect at all, or if you say, no, we just need more warehousing.
So none of the master plans that we've worked on consist of the buildings connecting. So this will be an independent building. There'll be other buildings that will be independent.
Yeah, I didn't mean physical connecting, I meant functional connecting. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Zoller, please.
Mr. Chairman, yeah, I'd like to piggyback off of what Mr. McIntyre was saying. So there's a loop road proposed. Eventually, there'll be other businesses and other buildings that will feed off of that loop road. The loop road that's being constructed, it's just for this project at the time, but it will be used for future purposes and for future access of, other developments in the area?
That is correct.
Okay. So there'd be a large amount of infrastructure put in now so that it doesn't have to be done later on?
Oh, that's correct, yeah. And all that infrastructure has been designed and incorporated within the plan set, yeah.
Okay.
Utility extensions, stubbing for future development, et cetera.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Varley.
Yeah, and sorry, just to continue that theme, hopefully not being a dead horse here, but I think similarly, just in terms of sort of expectations and timing, and I think this gets maybe to Mr. McIntyre's question a bit, but do you have a sense of understanding, and first of all, appreciate the work that's been done in terms of developing master plan, because you're right, that's something we've discussed for a number of years, and certainly appreciate the effort and time that went into that. As we sit here tonight, I mean, do you have a sense of sort of what the pacing or expectations would be around further development, or is it basically what you're saying is all we know tonight is that we're asking for approval for this one building, it's self-sustaining, and the future is the future, and we don't have any prediction right now as to what that's when the next project would come through?
I'll let Mr. Walker answer that question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Kevin Walker with the John Flatley Company. The plan right now really is just to do this one building. If you may recall, there's a deed restriction on this entire section of the property from Tara Heights all the way to the city-owned land, just at the top of the page there. We have a requirement of a 1-story or a 40-foot maximum building height. That was part of something that was done I think back in the 90s, long before I was with the John Flatley Company. That is still in effect, and I guess just to touch on it, when assuming the zoning change will go through, that restriction will still stay in effect. So there's not going to be any, skyscrapers, four-story buildings. They're going to be probably, you're looking about as tall as we're going to get here, which is about 30 feet or so. We can go to 40, but this is generally the game plan, and the way the land is sloped, designing it the way we have will allow for a 48,000 square foot building to be put on different areas of it. We have no other plans. We haven't contemplated anything at this point, but my guess is it's going to be relatively similar to some degree. In any case, it's going to meet the zoning requirements as we go forward. Does that answer?
Yeah, thank you. No, I appreciate that. That's
Thank you.
helpful.
Other questions from the board? Mr. Hudson?
Yeah, if I'm reading the plans correctly, I see some locations where you have cuts up to 30 feet deep. Have you done any geotechnical work? What's the expectation for cuts and fill balancing of the site, and what issues you might run into in construction?
Thank you, Mr. Hudson. Yes, we do have cuts of up to 30 feet on the higher, elevations. And we've done a number of test pits on the property, and we have encountered ledge. So there will be, there will be some ledge removal with this project. We are anticipating that there would be some, there would be an export off this project, looking at the cuts and fills just because of the nature of the topography. That will be contemplated with the state permitting. It's been contemplated with the stormwater management design, and certainly, all the construction activities will meet city and state federal standards.
You guys a follow-up?
Yes, please.
So, obviously, you're contemplating future build-out of additional sites. Is it fair to say that this establishes the road, but as each site comes in, there'll be additional grading for that site? Like, you haven't really created all the flat, levelish areas, so to speak, that each building would sit on. Is that fair to say?
We actually have contemplated grading for future pad sites. So the majority of the areas that are immediately adjacent to the loop road and outside of any buffer areas have been graded. We've located stormwater appropriately so that when my client decides to build a building, we've essentially developed buildable areas. We've laid out parking lots and such, and so this project contemplates a good majority of the earthwork that would be required for the development of this property.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Other questions from the board? Mr. Zoller, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I wanted to follow up a little bit on the design of the road, the loop road itself. Has it been done, I understand this is a private road network, from what you're proposing. Is it built, or would it be constructed to City of Nashua standards in terms of, road curvature, depth of pavement, everything like that?
Absolutely, yeah. We have designed this loop road essentially to be just like all the other roads that we've designed and constructed on this site. So it's the same, it's basically innovative way. The extension would have the same, standards that we've done in previous projects. The radiuses are, they're designed to meet design vehicle standards. This is not proposed to be a public road, so there is no right-of-way proposed with it. Mr. Flatley owns all of the roads within this Gateway Hills development.
So along those lines as well, if there was ever to be a subdivision application proposed, if for whatever reason in the future, you did want to have the city accept the roadway network as a public right-of-way, would the streets be prepared for that? Could the city feasibly accept that as public right-of-way if you did want to do a subdivision in the future, for whatever reason?
I mean, we are using like bituminous concrete or asphalt curbing, things of that nature. So those are slightly different than the typical city section, I believe.
Right.
But there is no plan to do a subdivision. There's never been a plan to, subdivide this property in that fashion. If this property was to be broken out, I would envision it would be more like a condominium type, subdivision where there might be an association and, somebody would purchase the building and appropriate, facilities around it.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Zoller. Other questions from the board? Questions of staff? All right. Seeing none. Mr. Brandon, thank you. I'm going to open it up to the public at this time. Are there any members of the public that would like to speak in opposition or with concern? Again, this is the property on L. Shakespeare. Seeing none. Any members of the audience wish to speak in favor of this application? Seeing none. One last chance. Is there anyone on Zoom this evening for this case?
Let me check. I don't believe so, but let me confirm. No.
Okay. All right, thank you. I think we see no one wants to speak on this from the public. We can close the public hearing, go into our public meeting. It's a little different in some ways than what we've seen in the past. And I appreciate the questions that we had, especially regarding the potential for future development. Obviously, we don't know what we don't know at this point. But if they're at least, laying the foundation, if you will, in terms of the infrastructure, it's certainly a possibility. We can't preclude that. But it was good to flush a little bit out with some of the questioning this evening. Just generally speaking, obviously this case, like any other, would have to be judged on its own merits. We know there's something else that's planned to the south, independent of this. But I guess I would regard this as not substantially different in its entirety than what we had seen previously. In terms of the 3-year approval criteria off the bat, if anybody's driven up there, there is some fairly complicated topography, especially with the level of infrastructure that they're potentially putting in. I guess I wouldn't inherently have a problem with granting that off the bat, but obviously like some feedback. Again, it's totally within our power to do so, it seems, based on staff input. So potential item for discussion. And I guess the only other thing I'll comment on is we're going to have to take them up separately anyway. The waiver request for this application, again, seem fairly benign. Again, the adjacent parcels one is one we see pretty frequently. And I think as long as engineering is satisfied with the drawings by and large that have been submitted, I wouldn't concern myself overly with drafting standards and scale, so long as, again, Dan and his staff are happy. So I'll kind of stop there and throw it out to the board. Anything, Alderman Cleave, please.
Thank you. The only concern that I had originally had on it was reading the letter from Mr. and Mrs. Collins about the buffer and the removal of trees that had happened in the past. I think the question was answered that they would have enough buffer and the trees and so on would stay that way. So it talks about a city agreement. So I'm going to ask staff, is there such an agreement that was referenced in Mr. and Mrs. Collins?
Yes, the city is not a party to that agreement. This is a private covenant between the abutting landowners and the John Flatley Company. It establishes, I believe it's a 300-foot no-cut and a 500-foot no-build buffer.
Right. Okay, so that's just something that they have between with themselves and so on. So, okay. And I think it was addressed that there was going to be plenty of buffer, so that was my only real concern about it. I don't have a problem with the 3 years as such, because I think it's going to take them that long. And they're just going to come back every year anyways.
Not that we don't enjoy seeing them, but, yeah, obviously, each project is unique, and I certainly wouldn't want to ever get into the situation where this board is granting blanket 3-year approvals. That's, I think, nonsensical, but I think, again, you have to take each case on its merit, and I think there's some just logistical and topographical challenges out there. So, again, I'd be willing to certainly entertain that. But, Alderman Clee, thank you for your thoughts on the matter. Other thoughts or questions from the board? Mr. Varley, please.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, just, I guess to follow on some of the points you made, and I said this to the applicant, I mean, I do appreciate the work they put in terms of really, effectively preparing this master plan, which is, something that we've wanted to see. And I think personally, I'm comfortable based on, the understanding they conveyed in terms of what the future plans look like, that, as you said, we can kind of take this plan on its own merits, and that we know that we're going to have time to continue to evaluate, impacts of any future larger development. And, similarly, I feel comfortable, particularly with staff support of the 3-year approval, and again, seconding what you and Alderman Cleet said in terms of there's clearly, it's going to take some time for them to do this work, so I think it's reasonable to do that now rather than do it incrementally. So, so I would be supportive of an approval here.
Thank you, Mr. Varley. Other thoughts from the board? Mr. Hudson, please.
I just wanted to thank the applicant for, at least in words, referencing a future development here. I mean, we have been asking for a long time for a master plan of the site for not only this area but other areas. So this is a step in that direction. So I appreciate that. I just wanted to relay that.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Hudson. Questions or other thoughts on the board? Mr. Zoller?
Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to mention that I'm seeing a few wetlands on site, and it seems like, by and large, or pretty much entirely, they've, avoided wetland impacts, avoided buffer impacts with this site plan application. So I think they're certainly set up for success in that instance.
Good point. Thank you, Mr. Zoller. Other questions or thoughts? Mr. Hirsch?
I think it's a great project. I think it's very positive.
Thank you. I guess administrative question for staff. Sam, if the board were to see fit to move favorably upon this, do you have any suggested language or subsequent conditions that would need to be added with respect to the 3-year approval period?
Yes, I would add in some language within the grant final site plan approval motion. I could either read that motion when we come to it, and then that gets adopted as the motion, or I could write a little script and hand it to whoever who would like to.
If you've already wordsmithed something, I think we may refer to you at that time. So that would be a subsequent condition N?
No, this would actually be in the motion.
Oh, in the motion.
So prior to reading the subsequent conditions, yes.
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
Mr.
In the
Hudson?
subsequent conditions, when we get there, C should, the letter date should be April 24, 2026. That's the latest
Sure about
letter.
that?
Yes.
All right. I guess
So
I
did you
was
say
different.
April 24th of 2026,
Thank you.
which has reference to some previous letters, but that's the latest thing that we should be referencing.
All right, I didn't see it.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right.
Joe sent me the wrong.
As long as we're going through this, latest fire letter, or fire letters dated are February 12th,
Yeah,
18th,
those are fine.
2026?
Those are fine.
Those are good. Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Mr.
are we also going to add a subsequent condition to continue to hold the corridor fees as previously applied to the project, or is that not required?
Good question. I'm going to defer to staff on that. Does there need to be, if that mitigation has already been exacted. Do we need to reference it specifically again?
I don't see
I-
the need. It's already-
I would reference it simply because it's an acknowledgement that those fees have been paid, and if for some reason they haven't been, or we misstated it, at least keeps that as, we can say, hey, look, this is an expectation. We can go back to the applicant as part of, a prerequisite to a building permit.
It's
But
already
it-
in the staff report listed as being collected, but if you would like to put an additional condition, I guess that.
I'm just trying to do right by everybody here, so if we need to add it, do we need to add a condition?
Yeah, I would add it because it's been collected great, but it was, the previous application expired, so it's, it would clean the record by making sure it's added to this approval of this case, even though it's already been satisfied, so to speak, through the payment.
So that wasn't in Joe's letter? Or anything?
That wasn't, to my knowledge, it wasn't in Joe's letter. I could check his letter, but.
When was the prior approval that we issued, or that we granted?
2024,
January
January 4th, I believe.
January 4th, 2024.
Yeah, the date that I had there that Joe sent me earlier in the week.
Okay.
Not to get too hung up in the semantics, how would we write a subsequent condition for a fee that's already been collected? Again, I'm not trying to trip over this, I just don't know how to phrase it.
Do
you have an idea?
I have a thought. And then Sam can correct me.
Okay. All right, we'll all be waiting suspensefully, I trust you, so, all right. Excellent, thank you, Adam, I appreciate it. All right. Any other questions for staff or any further discussion by the board? Okay, if that's the case, I guess procedurally first, we would want to take a look, make a vote on the waivers. Again, there are two this evening. Does any member of the board, at a point where they'd be willing to make a motion with respect to granting the two requested waivers?
Yeah, and I just want to, just looking at the order here. Okay. Yes, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Varley, please.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I would make a motion to approve the following two waivers from Section 190-279EE to waive the requirement to show all existing conditions on the site and adjacent parcels, and from Section 190-279B to waive the requirement that certain drafting standards be shown to a certain scale on certain pages of the plan, and that would be with the finding that strict conformity would pose an unnecessary hardship, and that the conditions of the land and the plan, et cetera, will allow for the waiver while still carrying out the spirit and intent of the regulations.
All right, thank you. Motion by Mr. Varley. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Hirsch. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Mr. Varley, would you like to continue the thought?
Sure. Yes, Mr. Chair, so I would next like to move on to new business A26-0026, the conditional use permit, and I would like to make a motion to grant that conditional use approval, finding that the application meets the approval criteria in NRO Section 190-133F.
Thank you. Motion by Mr. Varley. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Green. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Mr. Varley.
Yes,
please.
and before I make the next motion, I guess this is, Sam, this is the opportunity for you to convey me what you think the language should be for that 3-year
Certainly.
Approval.
So I'd recommend this motion read as follows. Grant final site plan approval for a 48,000 square foot flex-based building with associated grading and site improvements at L. Shakespeare Road, Innovative Way Extension, and in doing so, extend the 12-month period within which a building permit must be issued to 36 months in accordance with 190-146E1, finding that the application meets requirements outlined in 190, 146D, subject to the following subsequent conditions.
Great, thank you. So I would make that approval motion substantially in the form just indicated by Mr. Durfee. And in addition to that motion, I would also include that the motion to have the subsequent conditions A through M in the staff report with the following additional changes. That existing condition C in the staff report, that the date be corrected to April 24th, 2026, and that a new condition N be added, and that condition indicate that the traffic corridor contribution that the applicant previously agreed to make as part of the approval granted by the planning board on January 4th, 2024 shall remain in effect, and that the applicant acknowledges the contribution previously made, and that contribution shall be continue to be held by the city and used in accordance with the original intent of that condition.
Excellent. Thank you. All right. Motion by Mr. Varley. Is there a second? Second by Alderman Cleet. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, moving along in our agenda. Next item, under new business site plan, case A26-0028, Bishop Girton High School, property located at 194 through 196 Lund Road. Has any member of the board had an opportunity to review this application for completeness and is willing to make a motion regarding that the case is ready for the board to accept jurisdiction? Mr. Green.
Yeah, I'd like to make a make a motion to, that the new business 826-0028 is complete and ready to take jurisdiction.
All right, thank you. Motion by Mr. Green. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Zoller. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. All right, motion passes. Board has jurisdiction. Good evening, Mr. Zajac. The floor is yours.
Well, good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board. For the record, my name is Tom Zajac. I'm a civil engineer with IMEG, formerly Hayner Swanson, 3 Congress Street here in Nashua. Takes some getting used to. Here tonight representing Bishop Girton High School. We've got a full team here tonight in support of the project. I'll just highlight a couple folks that are going to be speaking tonight. First, I'd like to introduce Jason Sternisty. I butchered that again, I'm sorry. Principal of Bishop Girton High School. Attorney Andy Perlman. Meg Bazinski from Activitas. They're a specialty civil engineering and landscape firm who specializes in playfield designs. She was the co-designer on this project with our firm, as well as Scott Thornton from Van Ness & Associates, the project's traffic consultant. We thank the other members of the project team, the members of the administration, the members of the BG community for being here tonight. We are here tonight seeking site plan approval for proposed upgrades to the existing Elliott Field complex, as well as associated site improvements on BG's Lund Road campus. We've got a rather brief presentation for you, after which we'd be happy to answer any questions from the board or public. If you could just jump to the next slide, please. So I've got an aerial photo here. I'm sure many of you are familiar with the site. BG has been here since 1964, 194 Lund Road, map 106, lot 16. It's a little less than a 19-acre site. We've got about 750 feet of frontage along Lund Road, as well as about 1,500 feet of frontage on Almont Street, located in the R9 residential zone. Site is abutted primarily by single-family residences. We also have land owned by PSNH along their power lines, as well as city-owned conservation land to the northeast associated with Salmon Brook. The site, as you can see here, is fully developed. We've got the existing school, gymnasium, field house in the southwesterly portion of the site along Lund Road and Almont Street. As I mentioned, BG has been here since 1964 with many upgrades and renovations over the years. The last major project was the field house addition in the early 2000s. We've got a number of access points into the site, two along Lund Road. I'll kind of run clockwise. In the lower left-hand corner is existing access driveway to the lower or senior lot, parking lot as it's known. Then further along Lund Road, we have the second access point, which provides access to the front pickup drop-off area where we've got some handicap and accessible parking. That front loop then wraps around the building and exits back on Almont Street in a one-way pattern. Our fourth point of access is further north, or planned right, along Almont Street, which provides access to the upper or junior lot, as it's known. The site currently contains about 450 parking spaces between those two lots I mentioned, along with that front visitor and accessible parking area. We do have some existing tennis courts down in the lower left of the plan along Almont Street. And as you can see, as you work your way northerly on the site or plan right, this is the existing Elliott Field complex. We've got a softball field, a rectangular football field in the middle, a baseball field, and generally another rectangular field in the northeast corner. You can see that the site has some existing vegetation along its perimeter, both on the north and along the easterly side, backing up on the residence along Dora Street. Existing site is serviced by municipal sewer, watered by Pennachuck Waterworks. Couple features to the existing property that I just want to call to the board's attention that are all shown on our plans. So first is an existing run of power lines, overhead lines, and poles running in a north-south manner along the easterly part of the site. So as you work your way from the Fox Meadow Road, Lund Road intersection, going north or plan right, there's a 60-foot wide easement in which those poles are located. Then it transitions, BG owns that land under the easement, and then Pennachuck then owns land further as you go north there. And there is a gravel drive that's long existed along that route. The second thing I would want to mention is there's an existing public sewer interceptor that runs north-south through the site. That's subject to a 20-foot public easement. That sewer has been there for many, many years. Generally runs along close to that access road and then actually runs through the fields before continuing on north. We also have an existing 54-inch Hasselbrook drainage pipe that runs west-east up in the northeasterly corner of the site that conveys water across Almont Street through that public drainage interceptor and ultimately discharges to Salmon Brook. The site was inspected by a certified wetland consultant, Brendan Quigley from GOV Environmental. There are no wetlands on the subject site proper, but there are some wetlands on the easterly side of that gravel drive as you move towards the PSNH land in the city conservation land. We did have those wetlands delineated. Those are shown on the plan because that 75-foot buffer associated with the wetland does extend into a very small sliver of the existing field area. So we felt it was appropriate to have those delineated and shown on the plan. We also have a small corner of the site because Salmon Brook is adjacent to the site that's located within the 250-foot shoreline protection buffer. The site itself is relatively flat, moderate to mild topography, generally sloping in a northerly and northeasterly direction towards Salmon Brook. There are portions of the site located within the 100-year floodplain, and the site itself is, majority of the site is located over a capped landfill that predates the use of the site, including many of the field areas. And they are subject to an activity and use restriction that's been on record since the early 2000s. That's in effect here that we're aware of. So I really just wanted to set the table for the project in terms of the land. At this time, I'm going to ask Jason to come up. I think it's important to hear from him in terms of why we need this project and what it's going to do for BG and the student athletes in the community. After which, Meg will come up and talk a little bit more about the programming of the field itself and the different components. I'll then come back to talk about a little more of the meat and potatoes on the site plan elements. And finally, Scott Thornton will address some of the traffic concerns in the study before we wrap up. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Good evening, members of the board. My name is Jason Strenesty, principal, Bishop Garden High School, 194 Lund Road. This is my 12th year as principal there. Bishop Garden has operated in the Nashua community for the past 60 years and currently educates 750 students in grades 9 through 12. About 225 of these students reside within the city of Nashua. The project we're presenting tonight addresses two needs. First, we're trying to support the Bishop Garden Athletic Program, which we offer to our students. Secondly, we're looking to serve the neighborhood and the community more broadly through some traffic improvements on our campus that should improve the traffic flow in the neighborhood. On the athletic side, we're looking at improvements to our athletic field facilities at Elliott Field, which is our main campus field. We're proposing to upgrade our existing football field, which is the field right in the middle there, with a synthetic turf field. This field will serve football, soccer, field hockey, and lacrosse teams. To be clear, we're not expanding the field and we're not expanding the campus. This is an upgrade of an existing grass field to a turf field on its existing footprint. In addition, we're looking to construct and convert the informal seating that's on the hillside around that field into a constructed bleacher seating area, around 800 to 1,000 people in capacity. Our goal there is to provide enough seating to accommodate our student body so that these fields could be used for assemblies, programs, concerts, things like that for students. We're also proposing to add field lighting to extend the usable length of the day at certain times of the year. The lighting is being selected and engineered specifically to avoid spillage beyond the field area. As a whole, this project will provide upgrades to the appearance and the accessibility of the campus and also improve our athletic facilities. Throughout our history, our athletic programs have grown substantially. The number of sports programs that we offer at BG roughly doubled when the school went coeducational in the 1990s. All of our outdoor programs today, though, are on the same field footprint that we started on back in the 1960s when the school opened as an all-boys school. So we have more need than we can meet on our campus. Currently, at the end of the school day, many of our student athletes are leaving the campus and driving to fields in Bedford or Tingsboro to utilize practice facilities there. This creates rental costs for us. It also creates safety concerns for families as their students are driving up and down the highway as they're rushing to practice. We appreciate partnerships in the city that let us use Stello Stadium and Holman Stadium, as well as other locations for competitive events and practices. However, as a school with a robust athletic tradition and a comprehensive program, we're very, very dependent on some of these outside facilities. Last year, Stellos became unavailable, and that amplified the fact that we don't have an appropriate home facility for competitive Division I events, one that's fully under the school's control, and an upgrade will address that issue for us. Just to be clear, though, the discussion about turfing the field goes back at least 30 years. We have minutes of meetings between BG and city officials in which the importance of developing this on-campus facility fully was discussed even decades ago. And one note that I think is really important, from a community and student experience standpoint, it's important to note that many students who go through Bishop Garden and compete for 4 years on athletic teams will never play a home game on the campus of Bishop Garden. So they never have the opportunity to play at home. So by meeting the existing needs we have, this project's also a bit of a homecoming, and it's a realization of a long-term strategic goal that brings some of the Cardinal athletic programs back to our campus. The board approved already the project on Groton Road, and that is proceeding. But how does this fit into that in terms of how we actually look to use these fields? The property at 40 Groton Road is a practice facility. So there's no seating there. There are going to be 3 fields that are ultimately turfed, plus tennis courts and a track. And we don't envision holding spectator events at that site. That project is going to be proceeding to completion as we raise the funds. The turf field at BG will be used for practices and for low attendance athletic games and competitive events. So for example, on a Tuesday night, you might expect to see a soccer or field hockey game with a small number of fans, or a JV event that we'd look to have just parents and guests. The intent behind the lights is to extend the usable daylight hours of the fields in the late fall and springtime. Late fall gets very, very short when it comes to usable field time outdoors. We're not looking to push games until the late night hours. We don't plan to use this facility for high capacity athletic events, such as a Friday or Saturday Night Lights football game. Those we would still be looking to hold at Stello Stadium or other appropriate facilities. We do intend to continue our partnership with the city on Stellos, but BG will be a little less reliant, especially for some of our smaller events, and that should hopefully reduce some of the usage there. We also think these upgrades will bring new opportunities to our partnerships with the city, as BG may well now be able to host some of the events that occur and compete for the only 2 turf fields in the city, Stello Stadium and Riviera. The proposed upgrades will not only support BG, but also potentially upgrade or address needs and high demand for the space of on-field citywide. So that's an overview of the athletic project. We hope to commence within 2 to 3 months of approval and hopefully finish during the 26-27 school year. And the funding for this project is in place. Meanwhile, this project gives us a chance to address in parallel some long-standing traffic concerns in the neighborhood. In our neighborhood meeting relative to this project, we heard that our neighbors remain extremely concerned about the traffic around the school. In particular, we see a great deal of congestion during the half hour before and after school, with traffic often backing up along Lund Road. This creates dangerous passing on the 2-lane road there and a dangerous exit from campus. The Lund-Almont intersection in the top left of the illustration there serves 3 schools, Bishop Garten, as well as Fairgrounds Elementary and Middle Schools. There are issues with speed on the side streets when it gets congested, as students and unaffiliated drivers avoid the intersection and then drive too fast on the side streets where a lot of people are walking. After years of trying to improve the traffic concerns around the school, this project gives us a chance to identify some solutions. We're proposing to close the existing access on Lund Road to our back parking lot, which Tom referred to as the senior lot, and shift this entrance to the east side of the tennis courts, the lower part of that map. This will in essence create a back loop on the BG campus, which will allow us to absorb a great deal of traffic during peak periods. Now we will have both a front loop and a back loop in service to pull the queuing and the cars off Lund Road. The proposed layout will give us a lot of flexibility to try different traffic patterns to distribute more of our traffic onto our campus and less of it onto the roadways. Parking is always a concern. While we don't expect the new athletic complex to generate high traffic events that are any larger than events we might have in the wintertime, for example, a winter basketball game in our gym, our plan will be to add a small number of spots to help support that. But again, I want to emphasize, with traffic and parking improvements, we're not expanding the footprint of our existing fields. We're not increasing enrollment. We're not looking to dramatically change the occupancy of the campus. So tying this all together, the athletic and the traffic projects, I think our athletic plans will also help to keep students on the campus as a whole, which will improve traffic. A lot of times at the end of the day, students are making trips to Bedford and Tingsboro. Those trips will oftentimes stay on our campus now, or they'll be going to Groton Road in town. So the students won't need to be going as far. There's not going to be the urgency to get off the campus at the end of the day. Hopefully this helps spread out some of the peak of those few minutes at before and after school. And Mr. Thornton and Mr. Zajac will address those quantitatively, but these are just some qualitative observations we have, just knowing where our students go at different times of day. We also anticipate collaborating with the city on safety improvements within that neighborhood. As a part of this project, we're happy to engage in those discussions. Anything that makes those streets safer, it's good for us, it's good for our students, and it's good for the neighborhood. Related to our traffic flow reconfiguration, our neighbors in our neighbor meeting expressed their appreciation of being able to walk down that access road, that gravel PSNH, former PSNH Eversource road. which the school purchased a number of years ago on the school side of that, running from Lund Road up to Knoll Street with the path along Salmon Brook. This will become part of the new driveway and the new loop on Lund Road, but we also do intend, hearing that interest in maintaining walkability for our neighbors in the design of this entrance so that they can continue to access Salmon Brook along our property. Project is a positive move for the school, which serves many of Nashua's young people, but it also accounts for some of the neighborhood and community needs, whether those be the need for athletic field space or the hope to improve on the traffic congestion and safety around the school. So we look forward to answering any questions that you have after our presentation. But on behalf of Bishop Garden High School, our faculty, staff, administration, students, I ask for the planning board's support of this project. Thank you for your time and consideration tonight. And at this point, I'll turn it back over to the project team who will handle the technical details.
Thank you.
And this is Meg Brzezinski.
Thank you, members of the board. I'm Meg Brzezinski. I'm a civil engineer with Activitas. I'm on the design team as the athletic and recreation design consultant. So Jason hit on a lot of the program elements, so I won't kind of focus on those, but to give you a view of some of the bigger pieces. So the turf field that's being proposed here is very similar to what was recently installed over at Stello Stadium. Infield synthetic turf field. Water will be able to drain through it. It's really meant to be an all-weather, all-purpose usable surface. So really increasing that playability and usability of the field, especially in that early spring and late fall season. As we move outside the field to the page left there, you can see a small structure. That's about a 20 by 40 glorified shed, really meant for a roof and 4 walls in order for teams to meet, especially during halftime, things like that, in inclement weather. So nothing too exciting on it, but a small structure in that location. Now, the field was sited to obviously support the sports that would be played within there, but it's also really important to still support the existing softball field and the existing baseball field. And so everything's been sized appropriately, as well as providing fencing and netting to make sure that we can maintain some of those feelings of distances for both baseball and softball. As we move page north of the field area, as Jason mentioned, we do have the spectator seating for about 900 seats. Beyond that, right behind it, is a press box for use for game management, as well as scoreboard and announcing controls during play. Athletic lighting is proposed on this project. You can see the 4 light poles where you see the number 3s on the plan, but that was great if you can go forward. What we're proposing here is a Musco LED system. It is the premier lighting system for athletic fields. What you see here, kind of this, these are obviously from Musco, but on the top of the page, the different fixtures and how lighting has evolved over the years. And so it used to be very bright, light went everywhere. As we moved along to the LED provided today by Musco, it is pretty much a full cutoff fixture. And you can see that kind of down below. The last one is not the Musco. It's actually the one that says 7 Candela, yep, right in the middle there. Those fixtures are in fact on, but you can see that there's very limited glare, as well as outreach beyond those poles. I think we have one more picture just to support that. So this is a project in Lexington, Massachusetts, and you can see the various light poles there, and then almost the full cutoff very close behind. And so we would expect the same type of control and cutoff at the VG property as well. Can you go back up to that rendering? Thank you. The other improvements that we have within the athletic field site really have to do with accessibility to the fields and to the spectator seating area. Some improvements to have more of an entrance feel coming off the parking lot area, as well as some perimeter fencing in order to help direct people to the right locations within the site. We do have sidewalks along the existing parking lot areas to bring people from their cars into the site, and then bring them with egress as well down to the field. The bleachers will be elevated above the field. It's about 4 feet or so, just to improve. There's actually a natural slope coming down from what Tom called the junior lot on page north, coming down to that field area. So there'll be a natural elevation of that seating in order to improve the spectator use at the site. So with that, I will turn it over to Tom to talk parking and circulation. Thank you.
Thanks, Meg. Appreciate it. Just wanted to, usually I'm the one giving the longer presentation, but I'll keep it short as well. Just want to hit home on a couple of the items that Jason talked about at a high level in terms of use. So again, this is to allow more on-campus home games for many varsity teams that have not had the opportunity to play those home games that are playing at off-site rented facilities. So the upgraded field will continue to be used for varsity JV freshman games and practices. Obviously, replacing, an overused grass field with turf will improve safety for athletics, easier to maintain, and easier to extend play when weather conditions would otherwise not be possible with a grass field. It's a well-drained field, so after a large summer storm event, that water will go right back into the ground and the field is playable. It's really important to hit home on the keeping more students on campus during that peak time. We heard a lot of feedback from some of the neighbors about how right at the end of school, these kids are getting in their cars and driving to Bedford, Tinsboro, all over the place, racing to get to their practice times. And while that may not show up in a great volume in a traffic study, I think that anecdotal information is important of keeping those kids on campus as best we can. And then paired with the 40 Groton Road practice facility, we can now use buses and kind of a little bit more formal transportation methods to cut down on contributing to that peak time. Again, the goal of this project is not to have Friday night lights at the campus. Those home football games, those large spectator events will continue to be held at Stellos or a more appropriate event. We recognize, though our traffic study needed to analyze the absolute worst case scenario of 1,000 people in those stands, we do not think that those are going to happen for athletic events. And we think those large spectator sporting events, which we classified as 500 to 1,000 people, again, will continue to be held off-site. And the reason we really want those seats is to be able to hold those all-school events. There's about 180 to 200 kids times 4 grades with about 100 faculty and staff. So if we want to have an all-school assembly or graduation on a nice day, the school can gather outside. This is something they're already doing on campus, so this is not added trips, added parking to the site. Meg talked a lot about lighting. We're committing that all lights will be turned off by 10 p.m. or sooner. This fantastic technology in terms of the downcast lighting, the control of glare. And then there will be a PA system controlled by BG staff that ensures that we're mitigating sound as best possible. Sound will be reduced in volume during the evening. And again, that PA system will be turned off at 10 p.m. or sooner. I want to talk a little bit about the site driveway, because this is, it's not the reason that we're building this project, but as we started looking at the design and hearing feedback from neighbors, it's something that we started to look at as an added benefit to the project. So it's moving about 200 feet further east or planned down on the other end of the tennis courts where the existing PSNH gravel drive is now. The better alignment with the Lund Road, Fox Meadow Drive intersection, improved sight distance on Lund Road from that driveway compared with the existing driveway that we're eliminating. Better separation from the existing Lund Road driveway loop. We talked about some of that queuing that can occur during those peak times. It will allow further separation. We also will have a better internal circulation, sight lines, turning movements, queuing on site. You can see the length of that on-site driveway. That's going to give the school a ton of flexibility with buses, with parents showing up early. We heard a lot about that in the neighborhood meeting, about parents showing up 45 minutes before pickup and parking on some of the side streets. There will be a new sidewalk connection. We heard very clearly that the neighborhood likes to use that PSNH gravel drive as a walking trail, both on BG's property and then continuing to the north on PSNH's property. We didn't find any formal agreements that were in place to allow that to happen, but BG is fine with continuing it, and in fact, we are building a sidewalk along that side of the road and allowing that connection to continue moving forward. We think that the summation of moving that driveway for all the benefits that I just named will end up significantly decreasing queuing along Lund Road during those peak times. Just as important as that are the pedestrian improvements. So I think this is one of the most important elements of the project. By relocating the driveway, we're able to provide crosswalks that you can see down by Lund Road in our Fox Meadow site driveway intersection that now is aligned with Fox Meadow Road. We are adding 2 pedestrian signals there, the RRFBs. You press the button, it flashes. And that was something that actually BG was approached, I think it was last year, by the former ward alderman. And so that's always been in our plan in order to incorporate that in this project. We're also adding about 200 feet of new sidewalk along the Lund Road frontage extending to Dora Street. There is no sidewalk there now, and so if you have neighbors that are coming from Dora Street to Fox Meadow, there's now a safe passage there with new curbing and sidewalk. They can get to that crosswalk and get to those pedestrian signals. So again, a lot of these were a direct result of some of that feedback we received from the neighbors and goals for BG for the project. Parking. We've got about 450 parking spaces on site. We're looking to add about 30 spaces. Really, the added parking is not a driver of this project. We feel like we have sufficient parking on site, but because of the configuration of the new driveway coming in, there was an opportunity to add about 30 spaces there in that senior parking lot. In terms of the logistics of how spaces are assigned, faculty and staff, seniors, and then juniors are assigned spaces until those spaces are gone. There's a specific space for each student, and when the parking spaces are no longer there, you cannot drive a car to school. You got to carpool or find another way to school. Students are told not to park on street, and it's my understanding that many of the adjacent side streets are marked as no parking. It's also important to note that this field is really an upgrade and an accessory use to the primary use, which is the school. And what that means is the parking demand of the upgraded field is going to be off-peak from the parking demand of the school. Those are not going to coincide. However, if parking capacity should be unexpectedly an issue, the team has submitted documentation to the city, to city staff, outlining potential mitigation measures that can be employed, such as busing to and from nearby park and ride facilities. Again, our testimony here tonight is we feel we have sufficient parking for this project, for the field upgrade, but there are mitigation measures. There is a fallback plan should there be a problem in the future. Lastly, I'll talk a little bit about stormwater management, just very brief. Very old site, doesn't really have much stormwater infrastructure. Stormwater right now from some of the building and parking areas either sheet flows out into the existing field and goes into the ground, or is captured by on-site drainage and catch basins and actually goes into that combined sewer pipe that runs through the site. So we do have some on-site drainage and stormwater improvements, including some porous pavement. We're retrofitting some of the areas to implement newer stormwater practices, and the result of that will be an improvement both in the quantity and quality of stormwater leaving the site. We do have an AOT permit for this project, which is currently under review. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Scott Thornton to talk a little bit at a high level about some of the results from our traffic study. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Scott Thornton with Vanessa & Associates. We prepared the traffic assessment for the project. And this study was intended to review the impacts of the expansion of the Elliott Field and the improvements. Do you have another slide for the traffic? So there we go. Great. Thank you. So this slide shows the study area that was chosen for the project, and basically what we're looking at are 5 intersections, 2 at either end of Lund Road, with the intersection with East Dunstable, the intersection with Lake and Main Dunstable. We also looked at either end of Almont Street, the intersection with Lake Street and with Lund Road, and then the intersection of Lund Road with Fox Meadow Road because we're, as Tom mentioned, we're proposing to the relocation of the driveway there. So we looked at two conditions, really. The one was the incremental impact of the addition, the expansion of the fields, and the ability to hold more practices for more sports. And then also the second component was the major event condition that was identified previously. In terms of the first condition, looking at the incremental impact of the field expansion, we identified relatively small increase in peak hour traffic volumes, about 69 trips split between entering and exiting traffic. So adding that traffic into the intersections, identifying capacity analysis and the increases in delays are really minor as a result of that first phase. When we looked at the additional traffic from the major event, and again, these are not events that are expected to happen frequently. You know, we're thinking between 5 and 10 times a year. But we did look at what we feel is a worst case condition, assuming the capacity of the grandstand of about 900 to 1,000 seats, all of them full. And based on statistics from Federal Highway Administration for event planning, as well as the trips due to students attending the game or the event, both for BG and for our opponents. We expect that traffic to be around 418 peak hour trips, all of those exiting. But, you know, that is again, not a frequent event. When we add that traffic into the intersections, we noticed that specifically at two locations, at the Almont Street southbound approach to Lund Road and at the Lund Road eastbound approach to East Dunstable for that right turn movement, we noticed level of service F conditions. Those are signalized intersections. We think that those Fs can be addressed through signal retiming. We have not done that analysis because we thought that for the plans that BG has with police details and so on for these major events that are already occurring to some extent, we didn't think that mitigation would be necessary for those conditions because of the relatively infrequent occurrence of them. But that said, that's something that we plan to work with the city and the peer reviewer and potentially DOT to address. We also have provided received a peer review from the city's consultant. We provided responses to that. The peer reviewer requested that we reach out to DOT, which we have done. So I think in general, and there's one other thing, there's one photograph that's within the response letter back to the peer review consultant that shows a more typical attendee event. I think it was from May 11th, just a few weeks ago at Stella Stadium for a lacrosse event. So that showed about 200 or so attendees, and that's something that's more in line with what's expected at this site. As I mentioned, we're working, and there's a picture there. As I mentioned, we are continuing to work with the city staff and with peer review consultant, and we expect to. I'll be available for any questions if anyone has any. I'll turn it back over to Tom. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Appreciate everybody's patience. So I'll just put a bow on our presentation. So in summary, we believe the application is complete, conforms with the site plan criteria outlined in the land use code. As I hope you can tell, BG and the project team spent considerable time and effort proactively engaging with the budding property owners in the neighborhood to introduce the project, to seek feedback, to answer questions. I think we, as a team, contacted almost 200 neighbors and held 2 neighborhood meetings this past winter, and a lot of that was really valuable feedback and really informed our design. Jason talked about the goals of the project in terms of the field upgrades and the project overall, ensuring safer player conditions for the student athletes, creating opportunities for many BG student athletes to participate in home and practices on campus, home games, on campus, providing an outdoor space for school-wide gatherings and community events. And then also, even though we're not adding enrollment, we're not adding classrooms, this project is an opportunity to improve traffic flow and pedestrian safety in the vicinity of the school to the benefit of BG, the students, and also the neighbors. As Jason mentioned, if we're fortunate to receive approval, BG hopes to break ground on the project in late summer, early fall, anticipates it will take about 6 to 9 months to complete, weather pending. We have reviewed the staff report, and the applicant is agreeable to the suggested conditions as written, and that would include the 4 traffic mitigation items requested by the city. We do have one waiver in our application, Mr. Chair, related to the existing conditions on adjacent parcel. I would just ask that my letter dated May 1st, 2026 be incorporated for the record. And with that, we'd be happy to answer any questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you and your team as well. I guess my question is more for Mr. Hudson, honestly. For quite a bit of discussion about traffic, obviously you and your staff have been intimately involved along with the peer reviewer. Notwithstanding what DOT may say, I kind of consider that a separate piece of this at this point, but in terms of the city's overall view of where we stand on operations, mitigation of the like, do you have anything additional to offer at this point?
Not too much. I would just say I think we've reached a good place relative to traffic in the drafting of the additional mitigation items. That kind of came together late today. So I appreciate the applicant's willingness to work with us and to define those and being accepting of them. So no, I think we have a plan. I mean, we do recognize this is not more classrooms, that sort of thing. You know, the nature of this is, as was described, it's new fields, and although we don't expect large changes in traffic conditions, we do recognize there are some existing issues, and that wasn't addressing all those wasn't really the subject of the application. However, I think we have collectively moved in that direction to define some things that will help at all times, in addition to during peak events at the field. So we do have the city's peer review consultant here with us tonight, as well as the city's traffic engineer, should we want to go down a deep dive on traffic issues. But I would suggest that I think we're at a place that at least city staff is willing to support this application.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Hudson. Appreciate your thoughts on that. If you don't have anything else at the moment, I will throw it out to the board. Alderman Clee, please.
Thank you, and I apologize if you did address this. I was writing notes and trying to listen at the same time, so my apologies. Can I ask how many more games or practices do you think are going to be on the field than are currently existing, and what are the hours going to be? I know you talked about the PA and the lights would be shut off at 10 o'clock, but compared to what's happening now, what is the extension of that activity? And I'm only thinking about the neighbors and so on. Trust me, I like the idea of students staying in place, but.
I'd probably ask one of the other project team members to maybe dive into the numbers on the additional games, but I would say that what our assumptions were in terms of the program. Scott and the traffic team work closely with the athletic director to look at that worst-case scenario in the fall, worst-case in the spring. And I think, as Jason mentioned, in those late fall, early time periods, the lights do extend, like all these types of fields, that window a little bit. So right now, I think most of their practices and games, at least during the weekday, are really condensed to the 3 to 7 window, light pending. But I do think the lights would then open that up to kind of slightly extend that window a little later in terms of practices. I think games could extend, like we talked about. You know, we're fully committed to turning everything off by 10 o'clock flat. In reality, I think we're really wrapping up by 9 o'clock, but I can let Jason speak to that.
Yes, please, thank you.
I think the first framing answer to the question is that these are high school students and these are school nights, right? So our goal is always to try to shift as many of the school events to earlier in the night as we can. So this project will allow us, if we've got potentially a given sport, we might be playing a given school, and we have 3 games in a row, and this lets us get the first one right off the ground early, and hopefully even getting the third one done by 7 o'clock, 7:30, something to that effect. Different seasons will have a different load. Obviously, almost no impact in the wintertime. Minimal impact in the summertime, we expect. But I think during the fall and the spring, fall time, you're going to have both soccer, field hockey, and football using the fields. So there could be a heavier game use there. Football would generally be 3 games a week, 2 games a week, pardon me, the varsity would still be off-site. And then 1 to 2 games a week for boys and girls, and soccer, lacrosse, or soccer, field hockey, and then lacrosse in the springtime. So single digits in a given week, I think, would be a safe bet in terms of what we'd be adding. A lot of those JV games are existing now on the campus. So a lot of those JV games are happening on the grass field. So we'd be really looking at moving some of those varsity games.
May I?
Certainly, please.
I'm not against this project. My question is, I know, having lived near a school and so on before, you know, kids are very excited as games are happening and so on, and parents and such. And so that was kind of my concern, is how many more games are you going to be playing, or practices will you be doing? I like the idea that the kiddos are staying on campus and not driving around and creating traffic things. But there will still be some traffic. And you said you wanted to start the games as soon as possible, but you got the other schools coming to your fields and so on, so that that means you can't start necessarily right after school. You still have to have that buffer of time. So how many, can you say offhand, how many games and practices are there now versus how many you're going to have?
I wouldn't want to give a number that I would be quoted on, but what I would
Just an
say is,
estimate, and I won't hold your feet to the
as a
fire.
reasonable expectation of use,
Yeah.
you could expect during the seasons that they're in use, during the weeknights, you could expect to see a couple games on a given night throughout that week.
Okay.
You could expect to see a game or 2 on a Saturday. We as a school don't hold events on a Sunday morning, so you might see later in the day practices on Sunday, generally not Sunday night games or events. Very rarely do we have a competitive event on a Sunday. It would usually be a practice, if anything.
Okay.
So I think that rather than trying to get into account, I think it's reasonable to expect during the week you'd see that type of usage on a day-to-day basis.
So while we're kind of reducing the traffic, we're increasing the compact of activity, is what I'm saying. So it's a trade-off there. Okay, thank you.
Alderman Clee, I'm no expert. The only other thing I'll offer is that PG is part of NHIAA, so these events are effectively sanctioned, so it's not necessarily Bishop Girton or any other school, Nashua High North, Nashua High South, that is determining when these events are taking place.
Oh,
It's sort
no,
of
I understand that.
pre-master
Yeah.
scheduled, you know, at the beginning of the season for each respective sport. So, so that's just for context. But no, I appreciate your line of questioning.
My comment was more that I appreciate getting rid of the traffic and not, you know, the kids trying to rush out, but we're increasing the number of events, we're keeping the activity that the neighbors aren't used to. So they're not going to have traffic, but they're going to have more activity, which is noise level and so on. And that was my only point, but thank you.
Understood. Thank you. Other questions? Mr. McIntyre?
I think
Oh, I'm sorry, Tom, do you want to tack on
I
to that?
was going to add one more little
Oh,
thought
sure,
to
sure.
that, is in some of those cases, it could be swapping out a varsity game. You know, a JV game may have been played there on the grass fields, but now that it's a larger turf field with some spectator seating, they may be holding the varsity games there instead of an off-site facility, and maybe switching a JV or freshman game that may have been there, let's say, to the 40 Groton Road facility.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. McIntyre, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have 3 zones of questions.
Go for it.
Okay, I am impressed by BG's diligence on what they've done for this project, and I think it overall looks like it's going to be a good thing for the community, but I want to touch on that for a second. There's been a lot of reference where you're talking about the use cases. You know, obviously the use cases of that field is going to increase. That's the reason why you're doing the project. So you should expect significantly more activity, but within the context of how they did their plan, I think it will be manageable. So getting away from that, I wanted to just ask you about how it impacts the extended community, okay? So you use Stellos and pay to do it, so that's fine, that's great. Is there any plan or intention of a plan by Bishop Girton to extend the use of these fields to non-BG or I'll say, Catholic diocese entities?
Yes.
Can you elaborate?
So in general, as a condition of our financing agreement on this, we're not going to be looking at working with a lot of for-profit organizations, but we would look at nonprofit organizations that might need field space. Our understanding is some of these groups are competing right now for field space, so we'd look to do that, but again, we'd look to do it on a limited basis, so that's not going to push our times. You know, the goal is not to rent out the field at 9 p.m. This isn't going to be a major rental income center for the school. This is going to be something that we can offer out on a need basis to organizations like us that are trying to do good work in the city.
So I'm going to take that as, yes, there's an intention to offer it to other entities.
Sure.
Under the right conditions.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep, on a limited basis.
Yes.
With the same constraints in place.
Okay. So that's good. Now I'd like to just switch over to the context of the turf. Okay. So I was surprised that you didn't include the softball field, the ladies softball field, as a turfed field, since you are already there. Was there a reason why you didn't do that? And why I'm asking is I'm wondering if you intend to do that as a future development.
It's not intended at this time. So before the Groton Road project was proposed, we did a corner-to-corner analysis of what would it look like to turf the entire property. Did not appear feasible for a variety of reasons, cost being a big driver there. And I would say cost continues to be a driver here, that we wanted to bite off a project that we could accomplish in a relatively short period of time. There is a note that if you look at the Groton Road plan, there is a softball field on that plan. And so that should absorb some of the practice, at least use of softball. And softball field will also be getting some upgrades. But when you look at that softball field, that's also not getting 5 uses a day by practicing teams throughout the season. That's one team and one set of teams that uses that. So it doesn't get the same use that middle field gets. In the fall, that middle field is constantly going, even today, and wearing out. So we look at the turf as being the best bang for the buck there.
And the intent of that question was just to find out if you had a plan for the future in coming back.
Not at this time.
Okay, what is the manufacturer of the turf?
That hasn't been selected yet, so that's going out to bid pending approval, once the approval happens.
The reason why I asked that only is I'm familiar with this significantly from previous lives and stuff, but, Miss Sally Grigas, resident, wrote that letter to us telling her exceptions to turf. So I don't know if you saw her letter or not, but essentially her letter is basically from an environmental perspective and the contents of the material compounds that are in there and the impact on the heat signatures and things like that. So that's why I was asking about who you intend to use, just because I think it probably would matter as to what quality of turf you put on there. I mean, I know you want to get something that's going to be durable, but I think we should ask you or encourage you to take into consideration as much as you can her concerns about trying to find the most environmentally impact negative turf that you can find in the choices. And I think there's enough of them out there that you have an opportunity. I don't know what the cost will be.
Well, I'm going to invite Meg up to speak to that. I will note, just before she does, from a philosophical standpoint, we're a Catholic institution. Part of that mission calls us to be stewards of the environment. So part of our process in looking at our alternatives and what we select is going to be an environmental responsibility.
I thought for a second you were going to say that you Catholics are in favor of artificial turf.
No, that's, I don't believe that's in the catechism, but
just needed that clarification.
No, but it is a driver consideration for us as well, and it's also, our kids are going to be playing on it, and we want it to be safe for them. So, Meg.
The only thing, you're certainly welcome to answer and elaborate on the question. That I don't think it's within the purview of this board to mandate what your surface will be, but if you'd like to add some context to answer the question, please go right ahead.
Sure. I'll keep it brief. Yeah, so we do study, the different implications of synthetic turf and its components. When people do look at synthetic turf, and there's a lot of information out there on the web, we really encourage people to focus on the peer-reviewed scientific studies and really focus a lot less on the newspaper articles that aren't peer-reviewed. And so I think kind of one of the studies continue on. The state of California earlier this year just put out a new study. They say that it is a landmark study, finds no significant risk from key component to synthetic turf fields. That study was specifically more about the crumb rubber inside, but it goes on, to say that they find that recycled tires used as crumb rubber are not likely to harm users or spectators. And so those studies keep coming out to support that synthetic turf is safe. And so we continue to, recommend those products in that way.
Thank you.
Okay.
Other questions?
I have my third section.
Oh, certainly. Go right ahead.
Thank you. I just was, my intention, Mr. Chairman, of bringing that up was not necessarily to find a specific, but to try to show that we accommodated Mrs. Griggis's letter.
No, understood. Understood 100%. Thank you, Mr. McIntyre.
Yes. Okay, finally, I know that the site is essentially, improvements is how I would look at it, okay? But I didn't see for sure how this gets addressed, but one of the concerns is always the access to these fields, and especially if you're going to increase the use to first responders, okay? So I know that there's I think some accommodations in the routing. I thought I saw something in there about coming around the corners. But is this an opportunity for you to improve anything for first responder access and time for that field?
I would say certainly. So with any project submitted to the planning board here, we get a thorough review by the fire marshal's office, including this project. We did provide in the set, you mentioned the fire truck turning templates, which we do to make sure that we show they maneuver through the site. I don't think there are any outstanding comments from fire on this project, but I would certainly testify that by moving the driveway, we are providing some cleaner turning movements and quicker turning movements through the site rather than the existing driveway, which is very old. You have to kind of navigate through. So from that perspective, absolutely.
Thank you. Other questions from the board? Mr. Zoller, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Zajac, I wanted to talk about an engineering comment that was listed on the review, number 6, in regards to site distance triangles. I'm seeing a figure in the traffic study that shows site distance triangles along Almond Street, but not on the Lund Road, the proposed driveway that's coming in. There's also, a significant amount of vegetation on the one side, on I think the eastern side of that driveway. Do you foresee sight distance being a problem there? Is that something that you've looked at already?
No, we don't. Scott and the Van Ness team had responded to that. That came in today. This full site distance analysis. We'll work with Dan and Wayne and the peer review consultant to make sure those are all set. But we don't think we have any site distance concerns.
Okay. That's it for me.
Thank you. Other questions from the board? Or actually,
Mr.
Scott,
Chairman.
did you want to comment on that?
Yeah, just,
Okay.
there should be some additional site distance graphics that were in the response letter to the peer reviewer, and that provides a little more definition of the site distance conditions on Lund Road.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a pretty extensive packet, but under the supplemental,
Oh,
Yeah,
I see.
the very last diagrams, last few pages of that should have
And
some.
that came in today?
I think that was added to,
Yes.
added to the packet late, so.
Supplemental.
Okay.
But it's on the website right now.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, I'll have a look. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
No worries, thank you. Other questions from the board?
They're showing it here.
Okay, seeing none. Tom, again, thank you and your team. We're going to open this up to the public, and I'm just going to reiterate a couple of things that I mentioned at the onset of the meeting tonight. We're going to hear first from members of the public that are speaking in opposition or with concern. I would kindly ask that you do not repeat what has already been stated. I do have the right to limit the time on the public testimony tonight. Also, the board does have at its own discretion to not hear new testimony after 10 o'clock. As we're just approaching 9, I would respectfully request everybody that's here that wants to be heard is going to be heard. However, if you're the 9th or 10th person potentially that's speaking, you don't need to literally say everything which has already been stated. It's perfectly acceptable to get up and say, I oppose or I have the same issues as all previous speakers. So this is a volunteer board. We're just trying to keep the process moving. Again, we're not trying to stifle anybody, but that would go for folks speaking in support of the project as well. Thank you for listening to that. So at this moment, I would like to open it up to public commentary. If you are here, again, first we're going to hear from folks that are in opposition or concerned to the application. If you're able, and you want to form a line perhaps by the microphone, and we can just kind of process folks in turn. And you're perfectly welcome to adjust your microphone there, just so we get all your comments for the record. And if you just would like to identify yourself, please.
Diane Sylvester of 2 Doors Street, 224 Lund Road. I'm on the immediate corner where this variance to change all of this traffic would be coming right by my house on the other side of my property. Unfortunately, I can't not repeat some of what happened here tonight because...
Well, you're the first person, so I
Right.
guess it'll be up to folks behind you if they want to repeat everything you say, which I'll probably
I've
try to
timed
cut
it, I'm
off.
going to try and stay within exactly the 3 minutes.
The only other thing, and I'm not taking away from your time, I do just want to say, you can direct any questions that you have to the board. We're not going to respond. It'll be up to the applicant's team to respond to you. So just for clarification, okay?
Appreciate that.
Awesome, thank you. And again, pardon the interruption.
Advanced correspondence and photos I've provided, in my opinion, support reasons to deny this application in its entirety. I'll repeat some reasons tonight. A request to relocate hundreds of vehicles closer to this abutter's residence via a section of 220 Lund Road does not guarantee permanent resolution of unsafe passage complaints from queued-up vehicles on Lund Road with a destination to or from the school, nor resolve vehicle encroachment in front of this residence when this happens. Two-way interrupted traffic flow will still occur twice a day, along with a need to share narrowed Lund Road shoulder spaces. I remain an opponent for several other reasons. 220 Lund Road has served as a recreational pedestrian walkway and non-motorized bike path and buffer zone in this neighborhood for more than 60 years. I've recommended permanent conveyance as such by a city resolution with an exception just for the public service vehicles of Nashua. 7,300 vehicles in the summer and more than 9,500 vehicles when all 3 schools were in session use the Lund East Dunstable Road corridor per past DOT studies. 89 accidents around the immediate circumference of the high school required emergency responders or law enforcement personnel over a 5-year period. Clearly, decreased traffic volumes in this section of the Nashua community is what I support, not requests to increase non-curriculum events for 1,000 with expanded hours of operation as late as 10 p.m. A cap to limit a per-grade population to 150 or a total of 600 as envisioned by the founders in 1963 is one option. Personal parking spaces could then be reduced on campus, making more area available for a second bus recirculation loop on school grounds. Smaller, not larger vehicles to help minimize road deterioration are a past recommendation to school administrators. Exactly the opposite position is asserted in the Stormwater Report, paragraph C, page 2, which wants to use larger vehicles again. Incidental stormwater runoff into Salmon Brook and a non-liability consultant exemption for hazardous waste and pollutants on the property, and a zoning comment that the data provided are only an opinion, interpretation, or other concerns. So in closing, please do not give a greater imbalance to zoning benefits in favor of the host LLC owner administrators and possibly supersede past mitigated settled issues around more than 7 co-located side streets that include a portion of Almont, Fox Meadow, Arrow, Archer, Victor, Raven, Dora, and Allen Streets. Instead, denial may preserve co-located residential families' expectations for a safer, quieter, residential quality of life at the end of the day as younger children are put down for the night and adults prepare for their own next day's early a.m. agendas. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for your testimony. Come right up. Just introduce yourself, please.
Hi, I'm Dr. Dominique Bouvier. I'm a psychologist. So I'm trying to move that up. I didn't want to do that.
No worries.
There we go.
Take your time. You're good.
I live at 1 Forest Park Drive, which is the that house right in the upper right-hand corner, directly facing the baseball field. I work from home 4 days a week, and the idea of having more noise is really concerning to me. I am not opposed to the project at all. I think it's a great project. I'm just really, really, really worried about the noise level. As a psychologist, my work is extremely stressful. Adding the noise level on top of it worries me. So I know that you guys, they have a PA system coming in, and I'm just wondering how the noise level is just going to be managed with people. If the surface gets rented out as well, how are you going to manage the sound of other groups? How are you going to manage that? So those are my questions.
Thank you for your testimony. Thank you. Are there other members of the public that wish to speak in opposition or with concern this evening? If you'd like, just to get your testimony on the record, I will need you to come up to the podium. I know. Okay, thank you. Oh, Miss, I'm sorry, you need to, okay, you just had handouts? You still need to adjust your comments to the microphone so they're recorded for the record.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay, my name is Sally Brigas, and I do live on Elmont Street. I am a resident of the area. One of my big concerns, and thank you very much for bringing up the artificial turf, I have listed a number of reasons which are accessible to anyone who wants to access the deleterious things that can happen by having artificial turf for the community, for the student body, for the environment. And I've listed a number of them here. I could read this off for you. I've already submitted it, so I'm assuming that you've read it. I have tried to contact Harvey Construction a few times about the artificial turf that they're using, what manufacturer is producing it. I'm very interested in knowing this. I have not been able to find any artificial turf on the internet that I would consider to be safe for the environment particularly. I also teach, and I have students, and none of them have enjoyed running on this, falling on it. and dealing with it. There's a couple of things that I'd like to mention. One of them is the heat factor. So let's see. Each full-size field removes over 2 acres of ecosystem that sequesters carbon. Your proposal now cover this natural playing field with multiple layers of plastic. Synthetic plastic fields create a heat island for the athletes and the neighborhood. Recorded surface temperatures to the Boston area for artificial turf with organic infill have been as high as 157 degrees Fahrenheit on hot summer days when grass nearby was only 102 degrees. Artificial turf consists largely of a number of undocumented mixtures of petrochemical plastics, chemicals of varying toxicity, in particular the forever chemical PFAS. Rainwater and any irrigation will wash through these chemicals and microplastics into the soil and groundwater and into the storm system. So the athletic field is very near, right next to the Salmon Brook. All of these things are concerns to me, and I certainly don't know yet who the manufacturer is going to be, and I have been looking into it, and what I can understand is that Harvey Construction is putting it out for bid. So how concerned is Harvey or you in the quality of this artificial turf? And to me, it would seem far better to be using natural grass. I concluded in this information, I know there are many probably other people that would like to speak, that we all want the best for our children.
Miss, I'm sorry to interrupt, but you just need to direct it towards the board and the
Oh,
microphone.
sure,
And the
okay.
applicant is going to have an opportunity to respond, so we just
Yes.
need to pick it up for the
All
record,
right.
so thank you.
Okay, I'm not a public speaker.
No,
so
no,
I'm a
it's
little bit
okay, it's
nervous.
okay.
Okay.
Pardon my interruption. I just want
Yeah,
to make sure we
that's all
get
right.
your comments recorded, okay?
For sure.
Thank you.
So we all want what's best for our children. As much as we would like the outdoor playing surfaces to be perfectly flat and the natural ground that they play on to always be predictable, the natural world is not arranged that way. Adaptability and concern for what is best for all should be one of the hallmarks of making such decisions. I have covered some of the major concerns here, but would like to urge proponents to look more deeply into the proposed use of artificial turf. There is so much information available, both historically and currently, on use of this plastic turf. I urge Bishop Girton to reconsider this decision and continue to be good stewards of this precious environment, which includes our beloved Salmon Brook Marsh and all the wildlife that it supports. I can see nothing good in this. Also, when it's time, I think this lasts for about 8 to 10 years, the lifespan of artificial turf. And then it goes into the dump. And at that point, the dump can't even consider it because it's too big to recycle and too much. So it seems like an investment of money and time in which it would have to be resurfaced again. So this is what I have to say. I don't support that. I know that Bishop Girton has the highest concerns and consideration for its student body, and I'm sure for the neighborhood. But when it comes to something like this, I really would appreciate them looking more deeply into it and considering that natural grass is the better way to go in this world, in this plastic world. We certainly all know by now what microplastics are doing to us and the environment. So that's it.
Thank you for your
Oh,
testimony.
you're welcome.
Hi, good evening.
Hi, my name's Joy Wessinger. I live at 4 Dora Street, and I'm in favor of the athletic field. My concern is the paving of the access road, having that new entrance. It'll be a lot of traffic now, almost in our backyard. So that's what my concern is, having that redirection of traffic.
Thank you for your testimony. Other members of the public that wish to speak in opposition or with concern? Don't see any additional hands up. Do we have anyone on Zoom this evening for this case?
No.
Okay.
I only see two people, which is the video department and us.
Okay. All right. In that case, I'm going to throw it over. Is there anyone here this evening that would like to speak in support of this application? So, certainly, come right up to the microphone, identify yourself for the record. Don't fight.
Good evening. My name is Brad Poznansky. I'm a resident of Nashua, a member of the Bishop Girton School Board. Thank you for your consideration. Having listened to some of the neighbors, I want to assure the board that that the Bishop Girton Board will take seriously the concerns of the neighbors and act responsibly and in full consideration of the concerns that our neighbors raise. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your testimony. If you need to adjust that microphone up, feel free to do it. It's been a little finicky tonight. Sorry about that.
Thank you, Mr. Strinsky. Thank you. Good evening, board. My name is Will Barba, and I'm a sophomore at Bishop Girton High School and also a resident of Nashua. I'm an elected student body representative at the school, as well as a part of student ambassadors, the robotics team, and the school's campus ministry program. Most significantly to you all, I play for the BG varsity soccer team, which happened to make this fall a run to win the championship for the Division I NHIA. I believe that this field upgrade will be a brilliant addition, not only to the school, but also for the greater good of Nashua. I hope to put you in the shoes of a Bishop Girton student and show you why this field will be so great. Field availability is something that soccer leagues in New Hampshire often have trouble with in terms of finding quality fields for teams to play at without risk of injury or poor conditions. In my own experience, the varsity soccer and lacrosse teams at Bishop Girton have to make traffic-filled, approximately 30-minute commutes to Bedford to train at Back River Sports Complex. As a rising junior that will be driving to practice next fall, I believe that this is inconvenient and also unsafe for us student athletes. Constructing another high-grade turf field outside our school ensures a much safer season for us athletes. Similarly, our home field for most of our sports is Stella Stadiums, shared with 2 other schools. Many of us feel that we do not have a true home field, and oftentimes Bishop Girton students either don't want to drive to Sellos to watch our Cardinals win, or simply cannot attend at all because they're unlicensed underclassmen, like me this year. This field would be a game changer for the Nest, as we like to call it, as more Cardinals can view our athletes winning games, especially with the new spectator seating and parking improvements. On the note of parking improvements, the current state of exiting the school is a bit of a nightmare. Students and drivers on Lund Road can often experience congestion and accidents due to the difficult timing of afternoon traffic and then the many students leaving after school hours. With this improved parking flow and traffic flow, students like me in the future will be much safer leaving the school premises. The grass field that we currently have is inconsistent and suboptimal for us to grow as athletes while training, even when it's well managed. The rough grass fields are outdated, and many athletes that you ask in New Hampshire that are around my age in high school will prefer turf. I've played for both junior varsity freshman year and varsity sophomore year, and which means I've played on a lot of grass fields in New Hampshire and a lot of turf fields, and consistently the turf is a lot more reliable and a lot more enjoyable to play on. Grass can also often cause injuries due to bumps and hard patches. A lot of the fields in Nashua and around New Hampshire are just not well maintained, and turf is, like I said, much more reliable. The turf upgrade would solve this grass problem, and it would provide another quality field for Nashua to use. This field could also be used, you asked about entities that could be using the field outside of Bishop Girton. The field could also be used to host youth leagues, camps, clinics, recreational games, and also school events for Bishop Girton. And it's more than just Bishop Girton students that will be benefited by this, but also other people in Nashua that need more field. Like I said, field availability is often a problem with leagues around New Hampshire. On the behalf of the student body, we all believe that this field will instill a greater sense of pride within us and will provide a community resource as an additional turf field located in Nashua. I hope that what I've said tonight helps your decision, and thank you all for listening. And I hope you'll support both me and all the other Bishop Girton student athletes by approving this field. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony.
Good evening, Dave Tenza, 10 Monica Drive. This could be easy. I could just say I support everything that Will Barber just said. He said it perfectly, I think. But I'm here as a parent tonight of a BG sophomore in support of this project. Just from my experience over the last couple of years, especially with athletics in either the early spring or late fall, these fields will expand the opportunities for a lot of the students at Bishop Girton. I think Alderwoman Clee made the point earlier that depending on schools traveling to Bishop Girton for a JV soccer game, let's say, if Keene is traveling to BG and can't get here till 4:30, has to warm up, the game starts at 5 o'clock. The sun sets in mid to late fall, very early, around 6:30. I've been at the fields where they've actually had to call the game short because it wasn't sunlight. My son is a football player. Some of us can remember what it was like in the late fall, playing on fields that had been chewed up and flooded and not in great shape by the end of the season. So it's a safety issue that has always concerned me, and certainly this field, turf field, would alleviate that problem. My other experience as far as, I don't want to speak for the administration, but there is a need just in youth athletics in general for these types of fields. A lot of spring sports start early, however, the fields aren't ready, and these turf fields allow teams to start on time, get that practice time in before the season starts, which is extremely important for a number of reasons. I don't foresee that this will add as much congestion and traffic. Those fields, the BG teams themselves, I assume, are going to use those fields the majority of the time during the school year. Even in the summertime, the teams are already there practicing for the fall sports throughout the day and whenever they can. So this will be a welcome addition. It's well thought out, well presented here. I, as a parent, would support any decisions that the BG administration makes as far as materials or anything like that with the safety of my kids. And then, again, as Will touched on, I think another big part of this is that the city is in need and has struggled for years with the availability of fields, especially soccer fields. This is a project that BG is taking on their own at their expense, which is going to try to help alleviate some of that burden for the city, for BG students, but also that opens up fields for other leagues and schools to use. So I'm hoping that with all of this, that you'll support this project going forward. Thanks.
Thank you for your testimony.
Good evening, Chris Millett, 19 Almont Street. I'm speaking tonight on behalf of the girls' soccer program. I'm the head girls' varsity soccer coach at Bishop Girton. And from a coaching perspective, having our student athletes drive off campus nearly every day of the season is frankly one of the most nerve-wracking and stressful parts of the job, from coordinating transportation to ensuring student athletes arrive safely. Simply just adds an unnecessary layer of stress and risk. An on-campus turf facility would certainly alleviate that stress, providing a safe and more secure environment for our student athletes and young drivers. A soon-to-be alum this year who has played within the program for the past 3 years remarked to me when she learned about this project that she would have killed to have played at least one game at BG. So providing a home for our programs, a place to call their own, is truly, I think, something that would strengthen our students' experience. So thank you for your support of the proposal tonight.
Thank you for your testimony. Other members of the public that wish to speak in favor of this application? Seeing none. All right. Just for the record, everybody that wished to speak on this application tonight has come up to the microphone, either in opposition or in support. All right. If that's the case, I'm going to throw it over to Mr. Zajac to respond to some of the questions that were raised. So,
I was a point guard, but I'm not that short. Mr. Chair, I took some pretty good notes. Be happy to, I'm going to try to hit the highlights. We've got the full team here. If there's any issue that we want to dive in, we'd be happy to. I'm happy that I think 3 of the 4 folks that spoke in opposition came to our neighborhood meeting, which is great. We've heard these concerns and we've tried to address them as best we can. The resident at Tudora, Mrs. Sylvester, talked about the closer driveway and queuing concerns. So to me, there's going to be a little bit of trade-off here in terms of her specific property. She sits right on the corner of Dora and Lund Road. Lund Road's a busy road. Like we said, it's not just BG that's here. You got 2 city schools in the area. And she might have a slightly closer driveway, but as we've testified, we think there'll be far less queuing concerns directly in front of her property. She'll also have a new sidewalk there to help with some of the pedestrian concerns. So I do think there's a trade-off. She spoke a little bit about the PSNH easement, buffer trail. It's BG owns the land. There's an easement to allow PSNH to run their poles and have access to it. The public in the neighborhood have utilized that. It sounds like for many years. BG is not going to stop that, but again, this is a BG's land that she's speaking. It's not a formal buffer zone or anything like that. Traffic volumes, again, we think the improvements that we're making to traffic are not only going to, not only going to mitigate the traffic from the...
I'm sorry, is somebody's phone or computer on? If you could just silence that, please. Thank you.
Mitigate the traffic from the field, but we're also making improvements to the normal operation of the school. There was testimony or questions about noise management. So again, what we're looking to do here is have a formal state-of-the-art system that's going to be controlled by BG, primarily used in the afternoon, early evening. It's not going to be on all day, all night. Meg, who does more of these field-type projects, tells me that a lot of times the concerns are more about eliminating the unexpected or uncontrolled noise. So think of portable speaker, boombox that's out there. Again, BG staff will have full control, and those operating the field will have full control over that noise. They're going to continue to be a good neighbor, and if any concerns arise specifically, then they're going to work to address those in terms of further mitigation measures, cutting times, working with those neighbors to address those concerns. Meg can also stand up here and talk for 2 hours about turf, like the abutter on Almond Street mentioned. There is no turf product that's been selected. It's going to go out to bid. Jason has provided a testimony that the health and safety of their student athletes and the environment is a priority. So we're not going to pick something that harms the environment. Stellas and Riviere have these same types of turf fields. Those, the city and those organizations wouldn't be putting those down if there was significant environmental concerns. And then lastly, there was testimony from the next neighbor down, 4 Dora Street, about the access road and proximity. We did speak with, she was also at the neighborhood meeting. I would just say to those residents on Dora that Jason has committed to working with them on selective screening and buffering if there's something supplemental that needs to happen along those back lines. There is going to be some vegetation that remains. Some of them have fences, some of them don't, and so we'd be happy to work with those neighbors if there are specific concerns and if we need to bolster some of that screening a little bit on the back of their property. I think that was it. If there's anything else that I missed, Mr. Chair?
I think that hit on the major points, Tom, thank you.
Okay.
Follow-up questions from the board. Alderman Clee, please.
Thank you. My biggest concern in all of this, and it was a question that really couldn't get answered, and I understand that, are the number of increased activity, as well as, and I understand you say noise management, state-of-the-art system, not an all-day or all-night, but I heard until no later than 10 p.m. That gives me concern. I think the lights will be okay, because I've seen a lot of this, the downshifting lights and so on, but noise and activity until 10 p.m. can have a negative effect on neighbors. And it's going to be beyond Bishop Girton. So BG is not the only one that's going to be using the field. I'm going to counter and kind of contradict some of what I'm saying is I agree with the ex-Alderman Tenza who said the city needs more fields. There's no doubt about it. I'm sure Mr. Hudson, Mr. Conant, and Director Fota would say the same thing. We need more fields in the city. But I never like to put that against the neighbors, and I'm concerned for that. I didn't really see a neighbor come through and say, yeah, we're all for this. I saw students, I saw coach, I saw parent, I saw all that. So this is my concern. And at the same time, I understand that kiddos driving off campus, but why not do, when I was going to school, they had buses that took you. I graduated from Chicopee Comprehensive High School, and we didn't have our own field. We had to go play at Zott Park, or we had to go there. They were bused. We shared it with Chicopee High School. So, Nashua North, Nashua South are doing some of these same things. Bus them and don't have them just ride there. That would create safety as well. So these are just some of my real concerns, and I don't know if you can address them or, if it would make me happy. So thank you. I appreciate your time.
Sure. Yeah, well, we've tried to address those as best we can. We've talked about traffic, lights, noise, parking, all of those elements. We heard a lot of feedback at the neighborhood meetings. I will say we probably could have brought some more folks here tonight to speak in favor. We're trying to be respectful, and as the chair said, you're all volunteers. I'm not a volunteer. But we did receive, we reached out to almost 200 neighbors, and we did have some for and some against, and that were able to be there. One of the nights was in a snowstorm, but I think there was a recognition from the neighborhood that BG is part of this neighborhood, has been there for a long time. This is a critical upgrade, and we're going to do our best to mitigate some of those concerns that you mentioned.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Clee.
Oh, I'm sorry, and there were a number of letters of support in your packet as well.
And I did read those. Thank you.
Other questions from the board? Mr. Green,
Mr.
please.
Chair, does the design team have a design spec that they use for the turf that if one of the residents wanted to view the spec, they could see, or was that just up to the discretion of the contractor that you'll approve at a later date?
Yes, we do have a, keeps falling.
It's either high or low, huh?
No, it starts dropping as you go. Yes, there's just a standard performance spec construction detail that goes out. It talks about that sandwich of the carpet and the selects underneath in terms of how it will be built. But in terms of the specific product and the specific vendor, that's what goes out to bid.
Yeah. Just for the community more than anything, so thank you.
So once that's selected, we'd be happy to share that with staff or the neighbors, but yeah, it's all kind of on a performance spec.
Perfect.
And obviously, you're bidding this, it's not the same as a public bid, like when the city put the Stellos field out, but for a comparison, I'm not saying it is the same type, but if one were interested, I'm sure you could investigate what the city spec'd out in its public bid process. Again, if this is being handled privately, it doesn't inherently go through the same process, but if folks were interested in getting a flavor, that might be the best way without knowing.
If somebody wanted to reach out to the school, or if we wanted to share it with planning staff, once it's been selected, we're happy to do so.
Other questions from the board? Mr. Zoller.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Zajac, in regards to just the additional buffer that you brought up along the Lund Road, or Lund and Dora Street residence, is there any trees on site that, we're going to be going away, disposed of? Perhaps those could be transplanted as well. Just thinking of ways that buffer can be kind of fortified. Any options or any thoughts there?
No trees were eliminated. There's a little bit of scrub along the PSNH power lines. We do have some trees that we're planting throughout the site to kind of increase that in the project area. But like I said, we can go selectively. You can see on the plan here underneath number 7, some of that along the back of those properties, it's a little thicker in others. There is a grade change there that comes up, so it's not exactly flat, but we'd be happy to work with those neighbors to look at maybe some supplemental arborvitaes or some things in those areas to help.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Larry, here.
It seems like sound, like noise is a concern, especially with the PA systems and all that. Are there any mitigations that you can make similar to lighting, so it might not be as intrusive to the neighborhood? Or any modifications? I have no idea about the technology, how it works. I don't know if you aim things a different way or how what you can do.
Yeah, absolutely. I am not a sound engineer, but we do specify the systems. And so what we're proposing here, as opposed to, there are some systems that, they really shoot out sound just everywhere. This system is going to be mounted on the press box and the athletic lightings close to the bleachers to focus that sound on the bleachers. It's really meant for, maybe some pregame warm-up, but then really the announcements for the spectators to hear who are in that seating area. So as we go through that system, it really will be focused as opposed to some of those systems that you see mounted on a scoreboard that really shoot that sound out. That's not the type of system we're proposing here.
Could I ask one more question?
Yeah, please, Larry, go ahead.
What is the current system? What do you have currently there? Is it a scatter shot type of thing, or?
So right now, there is no system.
Oh, okay.
And the system is whatever student wants to bring a speaker and whatever they want to do with that speaker. So it's very inconsistent. And I think what we'd like to do is move towards what we have inside. If you go into our gymnasium, we have a locked cabinet. So you have to get permission to access the sound. So that's the first hurdle. And secondly, we have the ability to electronically control volumes. So the gym speakers can't be turned up past the point where in the gym it becomes dangerously loud. But outside it could be, we identify what's the point where if you stand down the street, you start to hear it, and we can calibrate it to that. So the idea would be an access controlled system that the school would control. And if somebody wanted to come use it, they'd have to go through us and say, okay, maybe that's not a good idea to be playing at 9 p.m. That's that sort of thing.
Thank you.
Other questions from the board? Last chance. All right. Seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing at this. You've had your opportunity, Dave.
No, she actually responded to part of it. I just had a follow-up question, but that's fine.
Mr. Chair, if I may, you will have a chance, they will be around after the meeting if you want to continue asking them questions.
Thank you. But I will close the public hearing at this time. We'll go into our public meeting. We heard quite a bit of testimony this evening. Coming in, I put a lot of weight in as always, in what Dan has to offer. In terms of traffic, if at least the city is satisfied that they've reached a level of comfort. Dan, I'm paraphrasing, I forget your exact verbiage, but I would be willing to accept that. It seems like there's still some discussions to be had with New Hampshire DOT. Those discussions are, I think, a little bit external. But as long as Dan is satisfied with the process as it's moving forward, that was my biggest concern. But obviously, we had a lot of testimony about sound, about the turf. And I certainly appreciate the testimony from the neighbors. But it seemed, I wasn't aware until this evening about the outreach and the neighborhood meetings that had been occurring. So I think it's always commendable when an applicant is willing to have those discussions, you know, is willing to maybe take some constructive feedback or criticism. I think in its entirety, I think this is a well put together package. It's beneficial, but obviously I'd like to hear from other members of the board on this one. So chime in if you have any thoughts, or Alderman Klee, please.
Thank you. I don't feel any different than I did before. But I will say I'm excited about the traffic mitigation. I think that's wonderful. I have no problems with turf, artificial turf. We put it in Stellos. I think in the long run, it's safer for the students because of the drainage and so on, and I like all that. I still have some concerns. We're going from no sound to sound that could go as late as 10 p.m. I am extraordinarily concerned about that. I want the students to stay on campus rather than driving. For me, the mitigation for that would be buses. So I think that VG should be able to afford busing these students. They don't have to drive. I think things can be done on that. I'm not too concerned about the lighting. I think that I've seen enough lighting. They can do enough downshift lighting and so on that it won't affect the neighbors. But the sound does. And I will tell you, as Alderman of Ward 3, where we have Greeley Park and we have nighttime things, the city controls all the sound. I live multiple streets away from it, and I can hear it. And sometimes I can't hear what's being said, but I can hear it. I can hear the bassiness of it. I can hear it inside my home. When it's music, it's kind of okay. But games aren't music. They're trying to rile up the crowd and so on. That concerns me. That's going at 9, 10 o'clock at night. People have young children that are trying to be put to bed and so on. So because of that, and that alone, I cannot support this because I think it's going to be a detriment. I love all the other things that have been said to it. If you told me that this was going to end at 8 o'clock at night, I might be able to go with it, but 10 o'clock just does not sit well with me. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Alderman Klee. Mr. Varley, please.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, and I guess first, just, and Alderman Klee, I don't know if this helps address your concern, but just from personal experience, having had a daughter that played 4 years of soccer, a son who's playing his 3rd year of baseball, so having gone to a lot of those games, and this is at the varsity level, 90+% of those games are starting at 4:30 in the afternoon. It's very rare for there to be night game, and I think that's especially true at the JV level, which is what most of these games sounds like it would be. So I think it would be the rare exception that you have a game, and certainly not a practice that's going later into the evening. Most of these games are wrapping up at 6:30, 7 o'clock. I think that the applicant's probably being conservative because they want to be transparent about the possibility of that, but I would be very surprised if there's any regular occurrences of events that are going later into the evening. And then just more generally, I think, I agree, Mr. Chair, I think the applicant's done an admirable job in terms of, working with the neighbors, working with the city, really working hard to address the concerns that have been raised, presenting what I think is a very well thought through plan. And really, they've gone above and beyond, I think, in terms of some of the improvements they're trying to make, and with regard to traffic flow and the like, that weren't necessarily required by the principal purpose of the plan. And then finally, I would just say I really do appreciate the consideration that some of the parents and students have raised about having a true, having reliable and available home fields. I understand why that's meaningful to the community of the schools. So you know, I look at this plan and feel like it's doing a good job of balancing the concerns and addressing what seems like a legitimate need of the school community. So for that reason, I will be in support of the plan.
Thank you. Did you want to respond? Because I have some other hands up.
I just wanted to respond to
Okay,
it.
certainly.
So in response to that, the truth is, as I said, you know, maybe those are going to be the rare occasions of 10 o'clock. If they had come in and said we were going to be stopping this at 8 o'clock, especially considering that they will be bringing in non-BG type of players and so on, the fact that it could potentially go to 10, and even if it's a rare game, again, you know, I hear Greeley, I have home in Ward 3 and so on, so hearing these late night games and so on, it's just, I become very attuned to what the neighbors and so on are saying, which is why I'm saying it. If this is a rare occasion and they're just trying to be very, you know, open about, well, it could go, I'd rather not go than stop them at 8. But anyways, that's my concern. I just wanted to add to that. And I do agree with everything you said about the plan. I think they did their due diligence. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Clee. Mr. McIntyre, please.
Yes, thank you. For semi-disclosure, I guess, I'm a member of this ward. I live in this ward. I don't abut Bishop Girton. There's a beautiful, we like to call it the Salmon Brook waters, but I'd call it a swamp. But it's nice. But what I'm driving at is I'm hoping, Alderman, that you may reconsider, only because directionally, the way she described the way the sound system will be used, I have faith that that's true in what she's saying in terms of how much travel it might have. I personally can hear all the activity at the Bishop Girton Fields from my house. I can hear the band practicing, I can hear the kids playing. I have full trust in their administration that if they start to go down a slippery slope and start impinging on the neighborhoods around them, that they'll be receptive to making some mitigation and change. So I'm not normally the guy that would say let's wait and see, but I think we should just wait and see and let them proceed. And then if there's issues downstream, they can be appropriately brought to the city and have the city address them with them. But I have enough faith in them that the type of situations that they're going to be encountering are not going to be similar to, like, say, like what happens at Riviera College. Okay, Riviera College, they have a loudspeaker system that you can hear from where I live, and I live off of East Dunstable Road, but I can hear Riviera College better than I can hear Bishop Girton. So I think we ought to give them a little discretion on this one, and I hope you reconsider.
Thank you, Mr. McIntyre. Mr. Green, please.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I think, again, the team's done a good job of addressing the public comments, and I wanted to make note with the sound and some of the others that there are people in the area that are very willing to speak up, and I think the school will be receptive to hearing any of their comments should something arise. And then furthermore, a lot of their discussion has pushed the city to, if we were to accept this, the plan to add stipulations that are monitoring traffic and other such items. So I think overall, the city and the school would do a good job of addressing any comments and concerns that our residents have.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Green. Other thoughts, comments? I, as always, appreciate everybody's input and open deliberation on this one. Obviously, quite an involved application. We have heard a lot of information, but I think we might be at a point now. We've answered all our own questions. I don't know if any member of the board would be willing to think about making a motion or two. We do have one waiver, adjacent parcels. Again, that's the third time we've heard this waiver this evening. This could be the one where we do a deep dive on the adequacy of the waiver request letter, but I wouldn't have any issue supporting that waiver request if a member was so inclined to make a motion.
Just looking, if we were to get past that, on the site plan approval conditions, I'm just double checking just to make sure there's no dates cited in the letters.
Mr. Chair?
Mr. Green, yes.
Dan, there's not a date associated with the engineering comments. Is the current condition as it stands acceptable in your eyes?
I think there was some materials that were submitted yesterday that have not been commented on, so is it best to leave that open-ended, Dan? Is that correct?
That's what I would suggest, Mr. Chair, just because of the nature of the back and forth and recent correspondence, we'd have to reference a few different dates of different letters, and my preference, because we issued site plan comments separate from traffic comments, and my preference would just be to leave it the way it is, and I think we're satisfied that way.
So whether it's ongoing specific city comments, or if the city is brought into other discussions with DOT, I think, do you feel comfortable that language kind of, or do we need to, I don't know, change that at all?
I'm comfortable with the language, Mr. Chair.
So with subsequent condition C as written, that should cover it? Okay.
Yes.
All right. Kim, good question. Thank you. I think everything else is pretty straightforward. All right. Back to it. Anyone willing to make a motion regarding the waiver? Mr. Green, please, go right ahead.
All right, I'd like to make a motion for new business A26-0028 site plan approval to grant the following waiver, 190-279EE, to waive requirements to show existing conditions on adjacent parcels as appropriate, using the criteria in 674-36-2N and RSA 674-44-3E, as well as 190-148D, finding that strict conformity would impose unnecessary hardship on the applicant and not be contrary to the spirit and intent of the regulations, as well as the specific circumstances and conditions of the land indicate that this will properly carry out the spirit and intent of the regulation, considering the rationale provided by the applicant, and attached waiver request letter May 1st, 2026.
All right, thank you. Motion by Mr. Green, is there a second? Second by Mr. Zoller. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Mr. Green, would you like to follow through?
I would like to continue and make a motion to grant final site plan approval for the improved athletic fields and accompanying structures along with the associated parking and site improvements at the property located at 194-196 Lund Road, finding that the application meets the requirements outlined in NRO 190-146D and subject to the subsequent conditions in the staff reports, A through M.
All right, thank you. Motion by Mr. Green. Is there a second? Second by Mr. McIntyre. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We just mentioned the board does still have a little bit of business to take care of, so if folks did want to carry on separate conversations, I would just ask that you do it outside. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Everybody okay? Your bladder-wise?
Yeah, I mean, at this point.
It'll be quick.
Yeah, really. A couple minutes ago.
It's gotten me so many times.
It must be a squeaky chair.
It's the chair.
Okay. Please tell me it's a squeaky chair.
It wasn't the new guy. It wasn't the new guy. Don't believe him.
Okay.
It's happened every time you're moving. So
Yeah.
We gotta believe you.
All right, all right.
As I get drowsy, I'm like, oh.
Keep
shifting around.
I was just gonna say, yeah.
Keep shifting around to stay awake.
You got me mid-sentence one times too. I'm like, just keep going.
All right. Good job, everybody. We're in a couple of longer ones tonight, so that hasn't happened in a while. Good way to power through. So moving along in the agenda. Review of tentative agenda to determine developments of regional impact. Has any member of the board an opportunity? Mr. Varley.
I was looking at it while people were filing out there, just to make sure.
Before we go, I
Yes.
have a quick question, not trying to delay. The 11 Tower Boulevard, with the changes to the, I guess, recommendations that the city's making for the traffic report and how that's going to affect, or what we're going to ask the city's going to ask the applicant to do we think that will have regional impact at all, or does it not matter because we've already accepted the,
Sorry, the first part of your question, what we're asking the applicant to do?
well, what we may ask the applicant to do to improve or contribute to the improvements to the roads. Again, hypothetical, but for the ramps, the
Yep.
turn lanes, and other such improvements in their packet. Is it something we would consider regional impact?
Oh,
Does it cross?
thank you. No, because the New Hampshire statute around DRI is specific to New Hampshire communities. It actually does not go across state line. We had a similar conversation with the Nash, because that's quite literally on the state line. There was coordination with law enforcement efforts naturally occurring outside of any DRI mandate, but no. Good question, though.
Yeah, there's been a couple others, Cam, where just being adjacent to the state line doesn't trigger it. The Nash even, I think, had to go through some local approvals with Tingsboro as well, so, but I guess, I don't know, Sam, I guess another hypothetical, would one ever reconsider, not that it would be applicable to that case, but we've already voted that it's not a project of regional impact.
Yes.
And typically, I don't think I've seen a situation where we go back and retroactively amend that. Like, once that determination is made, sort of carries typically with the.
Correct. I think there is a level of, I'm friendly with the planner in Tingsboro, and we can have conversations more in an informal capacity, just so they're aware, because we wouldn't be soliciting input from their planning board. There would be no grounds for anything to be binding, but if we learn of something, a capital improvement or something like that, that's kind of associated, that might just be something that we work into the process.
The same would hold true, though, even if it was, say we had declared it regional impact, you would notify the towns of Hudson, Hollis, Merrimack, or whoever. They're
Right.
basically just notified on communications. They're allowed to, like, but they don't get a separate vote, like, none of the,
Right.
oversimplification of the process, but it basically gives them a butter status in the sense that they're noticed, is that.
And it gives the planning boards of those towns the opportunity to provide comment. And it does add delay to a project to accommodate that.
Yeah, and typically, or often, you'll see also a supplemental review by the Regional Planning Commission
Yep.
of jurisdictions, so that's in effect what would have happened. So it adds, I guess, to process.
It would,
but
yeah.
still, ultimately, it would be the vote of the governing board, in this instance, us, so.
If this casino project was on Amherst Street, we would have determined it, and we would recommend it be determined a DRI.
Good question.
I would like, like to make the motion that I've reviewed the tentative agenda and there's nothing of regional impact.
Adam really wanted to do it. I'll
I have a question, I gotta push it through.
All right, motion by Mr. Green.
Can I second it?
Second by Mr. Farley. Any further discussion?
I've never seen such a fight out.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
The only other thing I'll add before I ask for a motion to adjourn, I know it was a little stuffy in here tonight. It seemed like there was quite a commotion outside this evening too, so maybe keeping the windows open was, or closed rather. Was I the only one hearing things? All right, maybe I was.
I heard of this.
I only heard a squeaky chair.
Oh, no. That preoccupied you for the evening, so, yeah.
We think it was a squeaky chair.
I'm next to him.
Right.
It's a story he's sticking to.
I appreciate everybody getting through that. It just, we are approaching the summer months, so this room does get a little warm, so.
We're working on the HVAC system.
Maybe a spare fan at times, and obviously, thank you everybody for putting up also with the IT difficulties tonight. I know that's being worked on as well, so basically, you overcame extraordinary circumstances in terms of heat and technology failure, so thank you. But no one has anything else? Mr. Zoller?
Mr. Chairman, I would very much like to make a motion to adjourn.
Nice.
My favorite
Motion to adjourn by Mr. Zoller. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned at 9:56.